What's going on, Uncle L? How you doing, KMC? What's going on? Just finished putting all of my links in the chat. We're trying to build over here. We're trying to build over here. There is a couple of people. What's going on, bad guy? There's a couple of people who do something that I have not seen, and obviously I haven't only been, or I've only been content creating for a couple of years, but before that, I never understood how important some people are to what you do. What's going on, Dantana? Two people. Uncle L is one of them, where before I even go live, if I said it, there was one time I hadn't even said a live yet, and he donated. You guys don't understand what that means because it's weird. It's not something, and not in a bad way, in a really, really, really it catches you off guard. It's like, whoa, this is crazy. Like that I'm saying something that means something to some people. So when he does that, I always look like, man, that dude is, I can't thank him enough. Then there's another one who does it, and her name is Beautiful One. And people know her throughout the sector. She super chats and she does other, but she doesn't only do it in front of the scenes. She does it behind the scenes. Today, before I even finished setting up my live, I got a donation. And I don't know if she wants people to know how much she donates. I know she does do it on some content creators, but she's never done that on mine in front of the scenes because I'm not monetized. What's going on, Just Jay? So today I'm just sitting here setting up, getting ready, getting my links together, got my little presentation ready, and boom, I get a donation from Beautiful One that's significant. And I cannot ignore it. And again, I don't know if she wants people to know. But what she does, if you don't know, is she donates directly to her causes or what she sees as things that she wants to support. So you can do it through NGOs and you can donate through organizations. TPUSA would be a political one. Political PACs would be another one. What she does is sends it directly to the person that she wants to get the money. And that's crazy because it's the most effective way to help a small business, because I didn't look at this as a business. I didn't think about it as a business. My wife actually was the one. Well, hey, you might as well get something out of it if you're going to sit here and run your mouth in my ear all day. You might as well say this online and be speaking to someone, right? So I'm going to share her channel just because all she does is share her sentiments. And all that means is this is what she believes. And it's important to me that people understand how important she is, because she doesn't just send it and support me. She supports anyone that she agrees with the sentiment. And that's phenomenal. And you hear people talking about, giving back to the community and all that. That's what she does. And it's phenomenal. So that's her channel. She shares shorts. It's all educational, usually educational. Sometimes it's funny, but it's all educational for the most part. The videos that she shares are important to the Black community, and that's what she's about. And I need to thank her. I need to thank Uncle L. They donate, and like I said, sometimes I'm not even live, and that's real support. And I genuinely appreciate that. I can't say that enough. And if it gets to the point where if she says, sure, say how much you're being donated to, because obviously once super chats start, everyone will see it, right? But I also don't want people to think that that's the purpose of what I'm doing. I'm here to try and share information that I think will help us, all of us, particularly the Black community, but it doesn't just apply to us. I think America is a much, much, much better, safer, stronger country when Black people are fully aware and caught up to where we should be and doing what we're supposed to be doing. Because I think everyone wins. No one loses. You can't have, it's like that one member of the family who just can't get it all right. You know what I mean? And everyone's doing fine except that one person, and that one person just can't seem to. Everyone should be rallying around that person, because once they get up, everyone's good. And I think that's how the country should be treating our community. They pretend they do, but they really don't. They just use us for sympathy, and that's not the way to do it. And I reject it completely. I cannot stand it. So I just wanted to say that. I need to say that fixing that broken link makes a full chain. It can hold anything, and we've already shown how resilient we are. So why not help that part of the chain that's broken? And I think that's extremely important. So thank you, Uncle L. Thank you, beautiful one. You guys are awesome. I cannot say it enough. And I wanted to start the live this way because it feels like every time I get those donations, I just say thank you. And, it's always not shocking, but it always throws me back like, man, I need to go live. I can't just disappear. This is much more important. It's not just about me. People are getting something out of me running my mouth. And so, yeah, I wanted to say that. That people they're gonna pocket watch regardless. So that's true. That's true. So let's get a banner going. Beautiful one. It didn't make you cry. Yeah, right. So there's that. Now let's get to business. I keep telling you guys that I believe all the stuff that we're seeing is a distraction. It's all a distraction. I don't believe any of it. And not that I don't believe stuff is happening. I don't look at it the way everyone is looking at it. Yeah, there's the shooting again. Now it's like, all right, we have an American who gets shot by ICE because he's jumping in front of protesters who are defending criminal illegal aliens. Okay, well, it sucks that he's dead, but people have to learn, stop. It's not about you. Everything is not about you, you narcissist. You don't have to run out in the street. I saw a lady crying. Uncle L actually sent me. Uncle L just sent me. I don't have Instagram on. He sent me a link of a lady crying. I think she's a nurse. We're under siege. We're under attack. I'm scared to go outside. Like, lady, are you illegal? First of all, that's the first question I had was, is she illegal? But then she's openly admitting she's working as a nurse, so she's not illegal. So what are you fearing? I don't understand. I don't get it. So when I watch her crying, I'm like, people are buying this. So yeah, whoever is in these 3-letter agencies, some of them are 4-letter agencies, but whoever's in these agencies are trying to get us to pick a side, and I won't. I used to all the time. But I'm just going to tell you guys what I believe and what I think and what I know, and then hopefully you guys can understand. I'm not a Democrat, obviously. I'm really far from them, but I'm also not a Republican. I am just as far from them. Well, no, I'm further from Democrats, obviously, because I'm further to the right. But Democrats are not doing anything. And I literally just made a post. Hold on, because I think I pinned it so I can read it to you guys. Where is it? There we go. I'm gonna pull that up real quick because this is not. Let's see. Thank you, Miss Just J. And you're gonna get good information. She that's all she does is share good information. So it's really, 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 really cool. Share screen. X. And hopefully I don't lose my. Hopefully I don't lose my connection. We've done really good so far. Let's see, share. We've done really good so far. So this is the post I wanted to share. Let's see, is it up? No, it's not up. Good. I'm glad. All right, there it is. So all I did was say both parties are trash. The platforms are different, which we know that. One side is promoting communism and secularism and socialism. But when it comes down to it, they will protect each other, which is why the swamp continues. How you doing, Miss Arabia? I'm still holding out for Trump to start arresting the powerful political criminals and pedos, but I every day it's looking worse. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. And until I see that happening, I've lost the political support that you guys used to see me have for Donald Trump. It's not there because I don't see him fulfilling that. And that's the most important thing. My son is 7. He can't grow up in a world of PDF files and corruption that goes unchecked. And this, I believed, was the one administration that could get it done because they're so they were so anti-swamp, and that's what they ran on. So I supported it. I promoted it on this channel. That's what I did. But when I see them still getting away and nobody's getting arrested, and Dan Bongino gets on X and he posts all the accomplishments, and not one of them has to do with PDF files, Epstein files, I have to say, well, wait a minute, what are we doing? No political arrests were made when we know people were doing, I could say treasonous things, but I'll stick with traitorous things to this country, to you, to American citizens. Nothing happens. We have an old guy who shut down the world over a lie about COVID. Just made it up. He just decided, everyone needs to stay home. We don't need the masks. Or no, we need the masks, but he doesn't need the masks. Guys, we don't need the masks, but they need the masks. We need to scare them all. And it's like, all right, so no consequences? You have Joe Biden, who used an illegal method to pardon everybody. He didn't even sign it. He was so out of it, he couldn't even sign it. They used an auto pen to do it. And it's like, is this legal? Are you going to at least try to contest those pardons, those retro pardons done at the hand of a machine? You guys talk about AI. This guy literally used a machine to sign off on pardons and executive orders. And it's like, is this okay with everybody? Nobody's saying anything. I see people complaining about the auto pen, but I don't see them saying why it's a bad thing. I've done videos and lives on that. We're just going to ignore all of this. So I don't believe it. I don't believe any of it. I'm not a Republican. I will not side with Republicans just because they're Republicans. If they're right, they're right. If they're wrong, they're wrong. And they're trying to cause this friction to distract. That's what it feels like to me. Nah, he's not going to do martial law. Now, if you have people like what's happening in Chicago and Minnesota and all these places, if you have these people taken to the streets, they believe what they're fighting for. That's fine. I saw one idiot pick up a flash bomb and a flashbang and not even realize, like, chick, that's a grenade. Why are you picking that up? And then she's, oh my God. And then these people are saying, oh my God, that's an American citizen. Okay, the American citizen knows the rules. They understand law. Stop. Because if he does have to crack down, it's not going to be anyone else's fault but these protesters. And I want to know who these people are. I don't trust anything now. I don't trust any of them. I think it's feds attacking feds so that they can have an excuse to cause division and they can force a right versus left conversation. But the real thing I think they're distracting from is the fact that the popularity of the typical war narrative is gone. It's gone, especially among younger people. But even people who are boomers there's always been the left boomers, but now they've come mainstream. So now you have people saying, I don't want to go to war. Candace Owens said, I'm not sending my kids to die for Israel. That's where we're at. This is not what we voted for. KMC, this is not what we voted. This is not what I voted for. You guys probably, a lot of people probably didn't even like or still don't like Trump either way. But I voted for something specific. I didn't vote for him. I voted for what he's supposed to do. If he doesn't do it, I've said it 1,000 times. He's supposed to support me. I don't support him. I'm not a Trump supporter. Trump supports me. And if he doesn't do what I say, I told you guys I was going to do this. I am against it. So you have this supposed conflict. How you doing, Ms. Baker? The supposed conflict right now is you have to take a side on, did the guy have a gun before he got shot, or did they take the gun from him? Is ICE acting, as rogue agents killing American citizens? Like, no, no, no. Should the guy have done what he did? No. Should he be dead? No. And it's weird because me saying that he shouldn't be dead is being looked at as if I'm liberal now all of a sudden. And what's crazy, it's so-called conservatives and Christians who are saying it. Oh, what, do you turn into a liberal? Huh? Because I don't think somebody should be dead? Now, both things can be true. He should not be dead, and it sucks that he's dead, but it's his fault. I can say that. For some reason, me saying that makes me a liberal, because I don't think he should be, I don't think it should be celebrated that somebody's gone. What's going on, G. Will? I don't celebrate death. I'm sorry. It seems as if it's supposed to be the conservative position now to celebrate death because he's an idiot. Okay, well, he was an idiot. Should he be dead because he's an idiot? No. Figure it out. I've been watching Jake Shields on X, and I understand he's really, really controversial because he's really anti-Israel. Like, he does not care. But he has a right to say what he wants to say. I'm looking for what I posted on this right now because it's weird. Here it is. It shouldn't be difficult to acknowledge things that are right. And for some reason, because one person's on a side, whatever this is that's happening right now, the arbiters of truth are deciding you guys should condemn this person or mock them even when they're right. That's how much we hate that person. I don't agree. So this post, this is a fascinating post, and I really, really was interested in just watching the comments and stuff. This post here fascinated me. So it says there isn't a single subject on which Shields has an expert opinion. Okay, this guy fought for 4 different MMA organizations, and he was a champion in all of them. He's won medals, gold medals in almost every major jiu-jitsu tournament. He was an amateur wrestler. I think he won a bronze in one tournament. He was a super fight champion. And this guy cuts this picture right here like this. Look at this. Great point from an actual expert on this particular subject. All he said, Dave Smith said, was this. And because everyone hates Dave Smith, I guess it's okay to diminish him. Everyone hates Jake Shields, so it's okay to diminish him. So I said, well, actually, he's an expert in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. You not like him doesn't change that. Doesn't change reality. So what am I referring to? This is the actual post. I have access to, I don't know if you guys have access to looking at community notes that aren't out that aren't out yet, because I'm a contributor to community notes. But this is somebody trying to bash Jake Shields. Hold on. Community notes. All right, I'll pull this one up. This is the actual status. Let me see if I can share this tab instead. So that guy clipped, what this is from, he took the context out because he hates Jake Shields and he hates Dave Smith. But what Jake Shields actually said was what I just said a few seconds ago. How are 7 agents unable to contain one man? These men have no training on how to subdue someone. With 7 people, it should be extremely easy. I agree. Why is that a bad thing to say? Because the guy is a crazy leftist and going and ridiculously going, not attacking, jumping in the way of agents with guns. Not smart, not wise. right? So we're in a society now that it's okay to not just diminish the person saying something, but then to diminish the person who's saying that they're right. So you have to continuously use this weird condemnation ladder. I disagree with this person, and I think that they should do a public apology, and we need to what? What is the point of this? What is the point of this? Why do this? Just lie. I don't understand it. So I've been going through these and I'm just like, this is weird. And then you have these bots that are going to say what they're going to say. But it's funny watching people. Well, it looks like there's more people defending them. So that's good. But it started out really, really heavily saying, yeah, he shouldn't be saying this. He shouldn't be doing that. And now look, Dave Smith I thought Dave Smith despised experts. He's never said that. It just became a bashing session because Jake Shields is, I won't call him an anti-Semite, but he says some things that he can get in trouble for from that community. I don't agree with all of the things. I agree with a lot of them, but it's nuance. It's way more nuanced than some people make it. And I don't like being called anything because I don't agree 100% with anybody. So starting out this live today, I'm going to talk about what I've been talking about before. Part of the reason they need this split is Zionism is losing its I don't want to say popularity. I guess that's the only real. I guess it is popularity. It's not as mainstream as it was, and Zionism is not Jewish, right? But it happens that a lot of them are, and it's just saying that Israel has a right to exist. Right? But if you use a biblical perspective and say that, you're now swaying into an arena that I don't respect at all. So what happened was, let's pull this up. This group came out against Zionism. Ooh, that set a lot of people off. Now, again, you don't have to be Jewish to be Zionist. There are supposed Christian Zionists. I don't think they understand that. That's what we're going to talk about to start this live off. Then we're going to get into Dave Rubin and his perversions and Candace Owens distorting him because he's an idiot. But before we get there, the patriarchs and heads of the churches in Jerusalem, a statement from the patriarchs and heads of the churches in Jerusalem on unity and representation of the Christian communities in the Holy Land. So they came out and said, we need to write a letter about this whole Zionism thing because there are Jewish Zionists, and one of them is Bibi Netanyahu, but they do it on the religious grounds, and it's biblical from the Old Testament. So they're speaking what they believe, let's read what they had to say. All right, so they said patriarchs, and let me make this bigger for you guys so you guys can see it. I can see it. I don't know if it's as big for you guys. Patriarchs and heads of churches in the Holy Land affirm before the faithful and before the world that the flock of Christ in this land is entrusted to the apostolic churches, which have borne their sacred ministry across centuries with steadfast devotion. Recent activities undertaken by the local individuals who advance damaging ideologies, such as Christian Zionism, mislead the public, sow confusion, and harm the unity of our flock. Let me finish and then I'll get to that part. These undertakings have found favor among certain political actors in Israel and beyond who seek to push a political agenda which may harm the Christian presence in the Holy Land and the wider Middle East. Now, why is this important? Because I believe this is all related to the censorship stuff that's happening and what they're trying to do with Candace Owens, because she won't agree. Charlie Kirk agreed. And long before he passed, I told you guys, I like him. I think he's doing great work, but I disagree with a lot. Well, that's what I was talking about. I didn't understand it.
The Vatican in 1985 says.
So Michael Knowles came out and said, I'm not a Christian Zionist. And now he's being called anti-Semitic. They're not the same thing. They're not. So why is this happening? Anyone, and he won't condemn Candace Owens, even though he's said he disagrees. Matt Walsh has said he disagrees with her. Megyn Kelly has said she disagrees with her on things. Tucker Carlson has said he disagrees with her on things. They need the biggest voice in the world, globally, number one podcast in the world. They need her shut up. And if they can shut her up, I'm going to keep telling you guys this. They can shut anyone up. They are trying to figure out the proper, in their minds, way to censor people. And if they can do that, it's over. Everything is over. You won't be able to dissent on anything. That's why they need this weapon. They need to figure out how to sharpen this weapon and use it. Nothing's working. She's got truth on her side. But so this is Michael Knowles, and this is what he has to say about Zionism. And he's going to explain it very well. Then there's another guy who's going to explain it even better from a Christian perspective. But this is so important. You don't have to be a Christian to understand how important this is. This is an entire faith, one of the oldest religion on earth. And these people don't all hold this view. They just don't. And there's a political movement, a small fraction, just as like Antifa, that just walks into black neighborhoods, destroys them, and they say it's us. This is the same type of thing. There's a small group who's infiltrated Judaism and Christianity to cause friction. Now, Jews don't evangelize, so it's not really a conversion thing about them. They don't really, they just follow what they believe, right? For the most part, that's all they do. Christians evangelize, and it's fracturing our faith way more because you can walk in to a Christian church and hear a full sermon on Judaism in the name of Zionism. So you have people infighting, and it's causing chaos. And much Christians are getting it much worse than anyone else because, again, they're using the Bible to do it, which is evil. And this is it's anti-Christ. This is anti-Christian, what it is. So anyway, I want to play what Michael Knowles had to say about this.
The history of Israel did not end in 70 AD. It continued especially in a numerous diaspora, which allowed Israel to carry to the whole world a witness, often heroic, of its fidelity to the one God and to exalt him in the presence of all the living, citing Tobit, while preserving the memory of the land of their forefathers at the heart of their hope, and references the Passover Seder. So here, the Vatican is writing not about the church as the new Israel, which is what Christians have always held, but is writing specifically about the terrestrial and figurative Israel of the Jews. And he's saying, the Jews went all about this world. They didn't just end in 70 AD, and they've carried this witness, which is often very heroic, and they do have some connection to the land. However, here's the key. Christians are invited to understand this religious attachment, which finds its roots in biblical tradition, without, however, making their own any particular religious interpretation of this relationship. And then, just to underscore the point, the existence of the state of Israel and its political options should be envisaged not in a perspective which is in itself religious, but in their reference to the common principles of international law. Bingo.
Meaning, they are entitled to the land because they want it, how they want it, and they built their own government, constitution, all that. That's fine. Leave the Bible out of it. It's got nothing to do with the Bible. No matter who's leading the nation, if they have a right to the land, it's because of how they got the land, how they obtained it, whether they bought it, whether it's through war, sacrifice. However they got it, that is the justification for it, not the Bible. And this is important for everyone. It's not just people who believe. This is for people who are atheists. You have this land and you're justified to it. If you start making biblical justifications for it, you're now leaving atheists out of it. You guys lose in this. Everybody loses.
Love this. This is exactly what the patriarchs are reaffirming from Jerusalem, and it's totally right. And this is why I would not call myself a Zionist, or a Christian Zionist, or any other kind of Zionist. It's not because I don't like the Jews, and it's not because I don't even support the state of Israel. As I think I've made clear, I am broadly supportive of the nation state of Israel. But I am broadly supportive of it not because I believe in the principles of Zionism, which makes certain historical claims and religious claims that I just don't think are true. I don't think that the Jews are entitled to the Holy Land because of some religious premise. I don't think that's true. In fact, being Christian, I believe that the Old Testament is fulfilled in the New Testament. Christ is the new covenant, the fulfillment, everything that was typified in the Old Testament is fulfilled in Christ and the church as the new and spiritual Israel. So I don't buy those religious premises, and I don't believe just because a people was on a plot of dirt 2,000 years ago that means they're entitled to it today.
Now, again, atheists, Muslims, Buddhists, this is extremely important to you because this is how you justify something like the Crusades. So it's not just about Jewish people. Christian people can do the same thing. If you start making religious claims to things, you can justify anything. You can twist Bible verses, and you could say that people need to be burned at the stake. If you could find, if you look at the Quran, you can find justifications to eliminate people who don't believe what you believe. This is why this is so important. Freedom of speech is part of why these people are insisting that you do this thing, whatever this thing is, represent this thing. And anyone who disagrees, you need to condemn them. Salem witch trials, the Crusades, every kind of conquest that's ever happened in the name of faith or religion. This is what we're looking at. You guys don't see it. You guys don't know it yet. I'm telling you, that's what this is. You can't speak against my beliefs. If you speak against my beliefs, you are evil. Burn.
If that were the case, we'd have to turn the Black Hills of, we'd have to turn Mount Rushmore over to the Lakota Sioux. I don't believe any of that. And yet, I am broadly supportive of the nation state of Israel because I don't like the alternatives. I don't like the idea of giving Iran more power in the Holy Land. I don't think the Muslims have been particularly protective of the holy sites. Sometimes they've been better than others, but the Ottoman Empire doesn't exist anymore. The current options in the Holy Land are not great, and we're probably not reestablishing Baldwin's kingdom anytime soon. So as a practical political matter, then also on the point of international law, the Jews were bequeathed some of this territory by the British Empire, which had control of it after the Ottoman Empire. They then had a declaration from the United Nations purporting to advance international law, and they fought a war of conquest. So any way you slice it, it seems to me that according to the current nation state system, they basically have a right to it. But crucially, that is not Zionism. And it doesn't imply anything as a matter of biblical prophecy for the modern nation state of Israel. You can support Israel. If you want, you don't have to support the nation state of Israel, but if you do, you can do so without adhering to the relatively novel theology of Christian Zionism. You can like the Jews. I love the Jews. I grew up in New York. I'm very philo-Semitic, okay? You can be philo-Semitic and not adhere to the relatively novel ideology of Christian Zionism. That's clearly what the patriarchs of Jerusalem are saying. Anyone suggesting that this is a break with tradition or anti-Semitic or anything like that, I think is just totally insane.
So, of course, he immediately started getting attacked online. And it's this is an epidemic. This is a social epidemic. Anyone who disagrees with people on the left or on the right, you have to take a side. Because if you disagree, you are problematic. So, of course, Mark Levin attacks Michael Knowles for saying he's not a Christian Zionist. Like, why do you have... He said he supports the state of Israel, and they still attack him. Why? You have to pledge allegiance. I don't know any other way to look at it. So because he didn't pledge allegiance in the way that he wanted him to, he's a bad guy, even though he supports Israel. It's not enough. You have to publicly say it. You can't say that Christian Zionism is novel. It's not small. All Christians need to believe that they're Jews. And it's like, what is this? I don't know what this is. So Michael Knowles said, ignoring the insult, I can't help but notice that you cared enough to respond and repost the clip. But the climate today is attack, 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 attack. Even if you're on their side. So Matt Wall says pretty clear that a lot of people do care about what Michael has to say. On the other hand, I'm not sure what I've ever met anyone under the age of 70 who cares as much about what you say, Mark. Probably best to leave these kinds of insults to people who are far more relevant. And the attacks are nonstop, and he's apparently about to get booted. So this is a guy. His name, I put his link in the chat. What's his name? His name is Zach. I think it's Zach Costello. I think he's going to say it there. But listen to him explain the letter also, because this is again, you may not care about the letter, you may not care about Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Baha'i. You may not care about any of this stuff, but it will come back to everyone else. It has to. This is about speech, and this is about your right to say, I disagree.
Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, issued a statement in response to the letter that was published by the patriarchs and heads of the churches in Jerusalem. Okay, he put this on X, and you can see that up there, that there's...
Now Mike Huckabee is a Christian, and he has a cabinet position, and he's about to say something. Oh, let's listen.
Stance, the patriarchs, that Christian Zionism is a dangerous ideology, does not speak for evangelical Christians. He was actually community noted, which you can see right there at the bottom, because the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Jordan and the Holy Land co-signed the statement. Now, here he is on air defending Christian Zionism, which I'm about to prove to you is clearly illogical. But it's also turning very dangerous for Americans. And this applies to you whether you are Christian, atheist, Muslim, Buddhist, etc. Anyone who's not a Zionist. Listen to this.
Because I'm not sure that anybody has the exclusivity to speak for all Christians in the world. And there was also a very, very targeted, kind of a pejorative hit at the term Christian Zionist. Bianca, I consider myself a Christian Zionist. All that means is that, yes, I'm a Christian. Everybody, I think, pretty well knows that. But to be a Zionist doesn't mean anything nefarious. It simply means that you believe that the Jewish people have a divine right, and frankly, a geopolitical right, to a homeland that they have lived in for almost 4,000 years. And to say you're a Zionist means, do the Jewish people have a right to live in this land? I think most people would look at this if they're objective and say, well, of course they do. They've had connection here. So to say a person is a Christian Zionist is a Christian who respects that Jewish people should be living in the Holy Land. That's all it means. To say that it's somehow some term that ought to be fearful, or as Tucker Carlson said, it's indicative of a brain virus. There are tens of millions of evangelicals just in the United States who would be called Christian Zionists. Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday we celebrated this week, was a Christian Zionist. So it should not be something that is divisive to Christians.
I don't even know why he evoked MLK, but and I respected Martin Luther King, but he also did not believe Jesus was God. So it really, really bothers me that we always get used for everything. They always do this. Why would he bring up Martin Luther King? What was the point of that? There's he's not a dumb guy. He knows exactly what he's doing.
There you go.
It ought to be a term that every Christian should embrace.
For most of Christian history, supersessionism has been the mainstream interpretation of the New Testament of all three major historical Christian traditions: Orthodox, Roman Catholics, and yes, Protestant. Lutheran doctrine is supersessionist. The early Christian commentators and church fathers, Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Tertullian, St. Augustine, all taught that the Old Testament was fulfilled and superseded by the new covenant in Jesus, in Christ, the Jewish Messiah. The original church, the apostles of Jesus, the church fathers, all the way through the schisms, the Roman Catholic and the Eastern Orthodox, and yes, even the original Protestant Reformation, Lutheran doctrine stands on what is called hard supersessionism. The old law has been abolished, concluded, finished. Jesus said on the cross, it is finished. You know what changed all of this? World War II and the Holocaust. It was argued that hard supersessionism contributed to the rise in anti-Semitism and therefore led to the Nazi policy of the final solution to the Jewish question. If you read Hitler himself, he hated the Jews because he blamed the Bolshevik Revolution, the rise in communism, and the eroding of traditional nationalist German culture and patriotism on the Jews. It wasn't a...
So again, doesn't matter if you're Christian, doesn't matter if you're whatever faith you are. What happened in Germany, he used faith. He used the religion of Jews against them. Just listen to what he's saying.
Theological belief that caused Hitler to do what he did. But it was then after World War II that the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, that this hard supersessionism began to tone down the rhetoric of hard supersessionism out of empathy for the Jewish people. Perhaps understandable, but not prudent or true. We allowed the trauma of the Holocaust, as terrible as it was, to water down and even drown out the truth. In fact, stating the truth of supersessionism became anti-Semitism, and then you were punished for doing so. This imprudent reaction to the Holocaust and the fear of stating the clear truth led to what is called soft supersessionism, which was the rhetoric of Vatican II by the Roman Catholic Church, and the outright rejection of supersessionism by many Protestant denominations who decided to go hard on Christian Zionism, which is a term that doesn't make sense. An individual who calls themselves a Christian Zionist is a Christian that believes in the Jewish religion. Think about it. If you are a Jew and you don't believe in Christ, you don't believe that Christ is the Messiah, then you would believe that God's covenant still holds. You would believe that the current Jews are the true and original Israel, that they would be biblically entitled to the promised land, and that they would still be awaiting the Messiah. But you can't call yourself a Christian and also believe this. If you believe that Christ is the promised Messiah to Israel, then you believe God did keep his promise with Israel, and the acceptance of this promise, the acceptance of Christ, is the continuance of the covenant. It's the continuance of Israel. The rejection of Christ is a rejection of the promised, and it's separate.
And I tried to explain this a few times now, and I think he's doing a little bit better of a job, but it's still complex. It just doesn't make sense.
Separates you from the promises. How can a Christian believe that the Jews who rejected Christ have separated themselves from the promises of God are still promised the land? If you're a Jew, this makes total sense. If you're a Christian, it makes no sense. Christian Zionism should believe that they are the continuance of Israel and that they should be biblically entitled to the land. Christians should be biblically entitled to the land, since Christians are the ones that accepted the promises and have allowed them to continue on since Christ. A Christian Zionist is like saying, I'm a man girl, I'm a Catholic Muslim, I'm a, banana apple. It doesn't make sense. If you believe in Zionism, that God's covenant is with the Jewish people, the ones who did reject Christ, then you too reject Christ.
All right, we got to get to Dave Rubin, because let me tell you.
All right, so that was the end of that part. We're going to move on to Candace Owens. I just need people to understand that this is more than about just your faith, even though for Christians it is. For Jewish people it is. For atheists, it's still also about your freedom to roam in between or be agnostic or not believe at all. Speech is the most important part of this. If you log on to X and you type in Candace Owens, or you type in Tucker Carlson, you're going to see what they're trying to do to these people. And it's crazy. And this conversation, this guy here, his name is Baron Coleman. He joined Candace Owens, but I want you guys to listen to what you said, because Dave Rubin is a Zionist. And when Candace Owens came out against the war between Israelis and Gazans and Palestinians in Gaza, he's just immediately flipped on her and started calling for her to be deplatformed and no one should watch her. And it's been nonstop ever since. And he's not the only one, but he was the first supposed friend who did it. So I want you guys to listen to what she has to say about him, because the title of this live is Candace Owens Eviscerates Dave Rubin. I also already talked about Zionists versus Michael Knowles, and then cease and desist being sent. The rest of this is going to be lighter. But it's still speech based. This is really, 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 really important stuff.
I cannot, actually, I can believe it. I can't believe it. What am I saying? I am so far now aware of what Zionism is and how much of a cancer it is. And you do basically have to behave like a psychopath to be a Zionist. And I do think that it makes it a lot easier for some people. I mean, I think he do some schooling in Jerusalem. Barry Weiss, I think, did some schooling in Tel Aviv. Yeah. And so you start to realize that they actually cannot have relationships. Zionists can't have any meaningful relationships with anybody, because to them, the ultimate thing is whether or not you're going to support Israel no matter what, even when they're blowing up kids. And it was a very easy moral decision for me to say, no, you can't mass murder kids. Right. And that's what I did to them. So if you actually want to know what it is that drives Zionists insane about me, it's that I've worked with all of them. I worked at Prager University. I worked at Daily Wire. I worked with Dave Rubin, actually one of the very first shows that I did. They all know me, and they have nothing bad to say about me. That's what drives them crazy. I've realized this. They have nothing bad to say about me, so they have to just make stuff up, right? Marissa Straight is working on, at the Prager University, the CEO, who I was very good friends with and was close with, is working on a documentary with, I think this guy's name is literally Shabas, and not Shabas something bomb. And I know I sound like I'm being anti-Semitic, but I swear it's like Kestenbaum or something.
You better get that name
no,
right.
I promise it's Shabas. I am being so real. Yes. Shabos, Kestenbaum. And he's going around telling everybody it's going to be a takedown of Candace Owens. And that's what her new focus is at Prager University, which is supposed to be about like educating people about free markets. Guess not. She's gone masked down. Ben Shapiro, who it's so irrelevant, doesn't even matter. But you could easily go, oh, she was mean to, no, they have no stories. I worked hard and was loyal to the companies while I was there. I was a good friend to these people. And so Dave Rubin starts his morning today choosing Zionist violence. And this just shows you how petty they are. Just to tee this up, he tweets that he's been holding on to this for a very long time. But that one time I went to his house for dinner and I told him that I hated Charlie Kirk. And on top of that, I ranted, not just about Charlie Kirk, but I also ranted about Jared and Ivanka. So the Charlie Kirk thing, I have literally no idea what he's talking about. Asked my husband, he's like, zero memory of us even discussing Charlie Kirk. On the Jared and Ivanka front, I fully remember because it was such a light joke. And, you know, once upon a time, Dave Rubin used to try to say he was a comedian and you used to be able to tell jokes with him. And he said he had recently been to Jared and Ivanka's house because they had moved into Miami. And he asked me what I thought about Jared and Ivanka. And I gave my honest opinion. I don't know what to think of them because they're too perfect. They pretend to be friends with everybody, left and right. And when you're around them, they present very perfectly. And I was like, I just don't know what they actually think about things. Like there's the layer that you can never pierce through. He then offers a joke, which was real, that when he went to their house, he's like, it was so perfect and pristine. Then when he walked in, like the child was playing like Beethoven on the piano. And it was very funny.
Right, yeah,
that was it.
funny.
That was our conversation. I had a laugh about it. Today he's tweeting, I was ranting against Jared and Ivanka and then I hate Charlie Kirk. And he was the original person that was upset when I said genocide is always wrong. So it was like Dave Rubin replied and was like, how could you say this? How could you make this statement? And it just made me so angry because there's a lot wrong with Dave Rubin. There's a lot wrong with Dave Rubin.
Well, there's a whole lot wrong with Dave Rubin. I mean, you could open that up and go for days. It's interesting to me that you are allowed to be pro-abortion or anti-abortion, and they'll accept you. I mean, they might say I disagree with you pretty vehemently, but ultimately, as long as you vote Republican and support the top of the ticket, they're going to be fine. You can disagree on tax cuts. You can disagree on a lot of foreign policy, but you cannot disagree on the Israel issue. You just cannot. You have to be 100% in support of the secular government, whoever happens to be in control at the time, all the time, or you are cast aside and lied about. And I don't believe for a second that Dave Rubin would have sat back for years on a story like this about you if he'd have had it, if he'd have known it and not mentioned it by now. I don't buy it. It's not a believable set of circumstances. And the fact that he thinks other people will buy it shows that he knows people just hate you and will believe anything someone says negative about you.
And they're just running out of things to say.
Yeah.
That's also what it shows is you're going to a friendly dinner where you tossed a joke about Ivanka's kids. No, I have nothing bad to say about Jared and Ivanka. Like I said to him, they've always been very nice to me. I don't know what they actually believe. Like they're just perfect and everybody is supposed to like them. But also Jared was running the White House for 4 years. I've said this stuff on my show.
And what she's saying is they have nothing left. They started with Dave Rubin was one of the first. Then Dennis Prager, even Jordan Peterson, who I highly, highly, highly respect. But he kind of went off the rails with this whole supporting Israel thing. Sam Harris, at one point, Joe Rogan was calling her ridiculous, but he's since realized, okay, she wasn't being ridiculous. COVID changed a lot, I think, a lot of people's minds on a lot of different things, because she was one of the first people to say, yeah, I'm not doing that. And it drove a lot of people crazy. So when Joe Rogan was like, well, wait a minute, there is something to this, because he had her on around that time and they kind of got into it. But Rogan, once he actually caught it, he's like, hey, maybe this is more about health. And why aren't we talking about people getting healthy and exercising during this time of crisis? Well, everyone's home. They could be following health guidelines of exercise, and we can actually help people get better. So I think that's where it really changed for the better for some people, but I think it's made a lot of people crazy, and they just won't admit. They won't admit that the federal government could do something like that. So when we see something like a Charlie Kirk, we know that Trump was shot. We know another guy tried to shoot him from the bushes on a golf course. We know Charlie Kirk was shot. We know JFK. We know MLK, Malcolm X. Like, we can go all the way back, and we know this happened. But for whatever reason, if you say anything, it's like, I don't understand it. People are automatically taking the federal government's side. And yes, he absolutely did. But what happened? Who did the mandates? Burn slots. Who did the mandates? It's funny when it's convenient And when they thought that it was going well, the left took full credit for the vaccinations, and they started mandating. California mandated for like 2-3 years that you had to stay masked up and out of school and out of work, and shut down their entire state and would not let people live. They were literally taking surfers off their surfboards and arresting them. They're shutting down national parks where people are actually just going for hikes in the sun, where ironically is where you should have been. And it was convenient. So, but when Trump started it, which he did, they all said, "I'm not taking that." As soon as he got out of office and Biden came in, everybody needs to wear a mask. Everyone needs to stay home. You can't work anymore. And it's like, so it's interesting how they use, especially COVID, how they use COVID when it's convenient, and then how they, I guess, claim that Trump did something wrong, even though they supported it after the fact. I don't know.
Present it and reintroduce it like it's something bad is what's wrong. And I do want to say this because then he posted a picture of me at, this is how nasty he's being. He posted a picture of me and him, and he says, "And as long as we are doing this, here we are at Peter Thiel's house in LA. Strangely, she never mentioned to me that he was a humanoid cyborg." And so the idea here is she's trying to make it seem like I'm a fraud because I've spoken about Peter Thiel, and I don't remember what year this is. This is, I do remember, actually, it was 2018, because this was the trip when I went to go see Kanye, right? I went to go see Kanye. That's why I'm wearing the same outfit from when me and Charlie are walking there. And Eric Weinstein was, I don't remember if he was brought with Kanye or what the deal was. He then said, "Let's go to Peter Thiel's house." Okay, I don't know Peter Thiel. I literally don't know Peter Thiel. So I met him at his LA, he was having a party or whatever. It was a very unique day. I'd never met Kanye or Peter Thiel. And he's kind of presenting this like I'm being a fraud, I guess, is the vibe he's trying to put out there. So it's like, okay, fraud, let's get a couple of things straight. The real reason that
So before she even says that, I didn't finish. So it started with the COVID, Dave Rubin, everyone condemning Candace Owens for being an anti-vax and crazy person. And more recently, we've had the Tim Pools, Alex Jones, all the mainstream. Who else is mainstream right now? Even Bongino's hinting at it. He still hasn't said it. He hasn't said her name yet. Definitely Ben Shapiro. All these people have come out attacking her and then trying to force other people to attack her. And it's not working. It won't work. She's still number one. Her views have not changed at all since their campaign. So again, they're trying to look at a way. If they can shut her up, they can shut anyone up because she has the biggest voice in the world. Coming from podcasting, obviously the president has the biggest voice. But what I'm saying is, none of it's worked, so they're just trying. And if they can figure this thing out, we're all in trouble. If they're able to shut her up, anyone can be censored for any reason. And then if something else happens along the COVID lines, and you say, "I'm not taking it," they now know they can shut you down. That's it. Free speech will be dead.
I stopped being friends with Dave Rubin is a situation that made me extremely uncomfortable and made me feel that Dave Rubin
This
was
is
a groomer,
crazy.
okay? Hand to God, this happened. Hand to God. Dave Rubin hired a person who worked with me on my team, not exclusively for me, at Prager University. And that he was very young. If I had to guess, he was 18 years old. It might have been 19, young, just starting, and he was ready for the next step in his career. He then decided he was going to move to Miami to work for Dave and his husband. And when Dave told me this, again, I was very green at a lot of times. If you even go back, you can find me like not really sure about my ideas about like gay marriage and abortion, whatever. So he says to us, "Oh, we were friends. We're going to, hire him. And it's so crazy. He has a really rigid Christian household and his parents are fearful for him to come work for two homosexuals in Miami." And I was like, that's so ridiculous. Like, what do they think is going to happen? Fast forward, I see Dave Rubin again, hand to God. And he says to me and my husband that him and his husband, and I would tell you this kid was extremely shy, one of those kids that blushes very easily and just a shy kid, just a normal shy kid. And he said, we think he's secretly gay. And so we've been like, egging him to like, just like experiment and to like hook up with a guy or to see like, that's what it is. We think that that's why he's so shy. Like he's diagnosing this young male as suffering from repressed homosexuality because he's shy. Right. Like, I don't know. Does he recognize that nobody even thinks this way? The idea of me prodding the narrative about whether or not one of my employees is a virgin, or whether they've slept with men and women, like that's not normal. That's not a normal thinking pattern. Okay. What ends up happening is he then says that they compelled him or supported him, not compelled him, but pushed him to go on a date with a guy and to have his first kiss. Shortly thereafter, the kid quit and moved to if I'm correct, Texas is where he moved to. And I was very happy that he did that because it was very obvious to me that they were grooming him into thinking.
So first Tim Pool came at her. She eviscerated him just with words, humiliated him with words. Then Ben Shapiro, she really, what she does is she tells the truth, and when the people actually hear it, it's like, oh wow, yeah, that makes sense. And then the person who came at her first loses credibility, loses subscribers and following, and people just see them differently. So Tim Pool really embarrassed himself, crashed out completely, and she humiliated him. Ben Shapiro, same thing happened with him. He's losing, I think the number was like 10,000. Then this is across all platforms, like 10,000 subscribers or followers, depending on the platform, a month. And it's been nonstop. Because once she claps back, she doesn't just say anything. She's going to read the person. Like, this is who you are. And she always reveals something about them also. She did the same thing just recently to Tyler Boyer. But Alex Jones was one of the worst because she didn't really have to say anything, and he just fell completely apart. She laughed at him. She just laughed at him. What's going on, GWB? And not that he had so much credibility to begin with, but among people on the far right, he really did. But his own following just shedded. He shedded subscribers and followers from it. And then he doubled down, tripled down, and he's still trying, but no one's even thinking about him anymore. So now this thing with Dave Rubin is really bad because now there's a whole new element to it, which may be why some people aren't calling for Epstein files and stuff like this. I'm not saying he's in it. I'm just saying there's that element to this. Even though the guy was an adult, she said he's 18, 19. The behavior is what the problem is. And when she called out other people's behaviors, more people look into it, and that's what happens. And that's where we are right now with Dave Rubin. He's in trouble. This is really bad. Really bad.
If I'm correct, Texas is where he moved to. And I was very happy that he did that because it was very obvious to me that they were grooming him into thinking he was a homosexual because he was just probably an inexperienced, shy kid. That's the reason I stopped being friends with Dave Rubin. I never shared that story until the audacity of this person who has told me about how he's done drugs with Peter Thiel. And also, you want to talk about being a bad friend? How about the fact, Dave Rubin, also, while we're on the topic, sorry for this rant, I got to get this Kanye out, that he complained he's such a cheap ass, okay, that it was one of the reasons him and Charlie had a falling out. And we'll get to that in a second. He likes to live above his means, and he told me that he needed $5 million to buy some house in some swanky neighborhood. So he went to his friend, billionaire Peter Thiel, and asked for $5 million, and they wrote it as like a bridge loan or whatever. And so he wasn't like he was gonna like have the money, but it was gonna be a bridge loan. So Peter Thiel gives him $5 million with friends like these, right? It's great. I mean, it's amazing.
Who among us?
But Peter Thiel then asked for a percentage, like, yeah, I'm gonna loan you this money, but if I'm gonna be the Bank of Thiel, you're gonna pay interest. And he was, I can't believe he's a billionaire. This would be a drop in a bucket. He could just give me the $5 million and he's going to make me pay interest. He's literally talking trash about a guy that loaned him $5 million. Yeah. Right? Currently, he had loaned him $5 million. He was talking trash about him. So I just wanted to say that because that's actually what happened. That's the real reason I stopped being friends with him. And the audacity of him to then lie when he knew better than anybody how close me and Charlie were. He was there when Charlie hired me. He was there when the Kanye tweet happened because of an event that all three of us were there. He knew better than anyone that Charlie and I were friends and that we remained friends until the very end. And he's publicly lying because I won't support Israel. He wants to help them win the ghost of Charlie Kirk. When the reality is Charlie's viewpoints on Israel changed. Over the last year, they had been changing because of the pressure that was coming to him by donors to control what he was saying and thinking and who he could invite to his own events. I just want to rant.
I just want to know.
And before I continue, they're doing that to everyone. This is an interesting question. So I've been seeing this a lot, and it's coming more from the left. It's a weird question. It's a very weird question. Do you think the Epstein files are real? Well, they got denied, but then over 1,000 were released. So it's not a question on whether or not they're real. But somebody else asked me this just recently, and I find it strange that I guess the new narrative is that Epstein did not do what they say he did. I don't understand this question. I literally, let's share this, literally just now posted this morning. It appears now, people, now they're going to gaslight you for asking for what we voted for. Oh, wait, wrong one. And they're acting as if you're crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist for, I guess, asking about the Epstein files. This is a weird one. I don't understand it. At the stage. So this is real. Like, let me make this full screen. I said this, and this happened earlier or last night. I was asking Dan Bongino. I went straight to Dan Bongino and asked him because he was saying something. So I said, "What are the stats on the Epstein file, pedos? How many convictions? Even easier, how many arrests? Because there haven't been any." This weird person said, "Hey, dummy, that didn't work. Pick a new hoax." And I'm like, "Huh?" There are no files, just adult, and now apparently, just adult women who got millions from his estate and are not talking. I said, "Okay, pedo defender." That is a weird thing to say. Look at this. Yeah, that hoax didn't work. So she's saying all the Epstein stuff is a hoax. I find this interesting. Here comes the lies. He was a disgusting Democrat. I don't even know what that has to do with anything. Who obviously did horrible things with Bill, Hillary, and many others. The hoax is you nuts online who actually believe that incriminating stuff on these people still exists. So I'm a conspiracy theorist and I'm nuts. And it's a hoax. I find this to be wild. I didn't know people are doing that, but now look at this comment. Apparently, this is the new angle. Apparently, this is the new angle. I can't put that up. You know what you typed, but now the person's saying, "So you think Trump was with little kids, but you still support him?" Who said that? This is weird. Very, 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 very weird. Yeah, exactly. They literally passed a law forcing them to do it, and they still have been resisting. Which means there has to be something. So they released thousands of little things, but it is against the law for them to withhold what the legislature passed and said you have to release this, and they're still not doing it. So clearly somebody's being protected. Obviously somebody's being protected. But the left is now playing a game where they're like, well, then you can't support Trump because he was in the files. Well, then how come you guys didn't release him while you had the old dead guy in office? Like that. They never think their logic all the way through. It never happens because they're not. They're talking points driven. They can only say things. They never really think the point all the way through to the logical conclusion. They're not capable of that. They're not. They're not. And it's very interesting to watch. It really is because I've never seen people hate somebody so much that they will defend the grooming and the SA and abuse of children. That's how much they hate him. And that's sick. You have to be sick to think like that. And apparently that's what they think. So because it's Trump, we have to disagree. So if he saved a million children today and they found them all in a giant ditch in Antarctica, but they were alive and they survived, and he brought them all here, the liberals would find a reason to hate him still for it. Well, who put him? He put him there just so he can say and self-grandize. That's how crazy they're acting now. I don't know.
Million he used to buy those boys that he
Seriously. And I'm such a good friend that when that whole debate was waging, I said, if I have something to say to Dave, I will just say it to Dave directly because this is their culture, the Zionist culture of flaming your friends. I mean, Megan described it with her and Ben. She said, one minute he's texting me saying we'll always be friends. The next I look up, he's on a stage and he's calling me out and calling me all these names. They just do this if you disagree with them about Israel. I've done nothing wrong to Dave Rubin other than disagreed with him about the topic of Israel.
Yeah.
Free speech is at risk. This is what they want. You have to agree with them or they will try to destroy you. You have to agree with them or they will go after your friends and tell them they need to publicly shame and humiliate you. There's a whole ritual This is what they're doing. I almost said this is what they're going to do. This is what they're already doing. You have to publicly condemn this person, shun them out of society. No one can interview them. That's platforming them. So you have to deplatform people just because you disagree. And if you can do it with one topic, why can't you do it with another? So the next time we start talking vaccines, if you say anything, you have to be completely shunned, deplatformed, erased from society. That's clearly what they're trying to do.
And if you don't believe him, he served chicken parm. For some reason that's related.
Yeah, my husband made her chicken parm. Yeah, it was good. I have nothing bad to say about the chicken parm, but
Great
I have a
chicken
lot
parm.
bad to say about you and the way that you have treated me because I don't want to bend the knee to Bibi Netanyahu. I don't care what your family's ties are. I don't care. You guys are all they're behaving like a mafia. Like I think it is a mafia.
I think it is too. I mean, and I think that gets to the bottom of it. There's a family. It's a big, George Carlin. It's a big club, and you're not in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a family, and we're not in it.
Right.
We're just not in it,
Yeah.
and we'll never understand it because we're not in it. We weren't born into it. We weren't asked to be a part of it. And so, to the extent you are willing to hang around on the side and support it, then you're useful. And then the day you're no longer willing to support it, you're no longer useful.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's scary because you wonder about how many people, what they were actually going through. I look back at people that we thought were crazy, and thanks to the bravery of Kanye, like exposing the messages with Harley Pasternak, you realize it's the same cult, and they want to control you, they want to own you, they want to drive you crazy. They want everybody to end up like Britney Spears, and pretending that you had some sort of a mental break, which is what I think they were trying to do with me.
I guarantee you that's what they're still trying to do.
They're still trying.
The way they were, someone needs to take our kids away.
Yeah.
Because they don't support Israel.
No, this is the beginning. I mean, it's going to continue against you.
I agree. It hasn't stopped. There's been a nonstop onslaught, and as we can see with the Daily Wire, it's like exactly the experience of trying to leave a cult. When they had Amfest and Erica came out, they played audio of Charlie saying that he wanted Erica to take over for him, and I was curious about that because if you have the audio, shouldn't you have the video? Am I crazy for thinking should you have the video?
Well, in an AI world, can we trust that even if you had the video, because it is so contradictory to everything he said, every time they're in a room together, every podcast, when it comes up to a woman working outside the home with young kids, his basic opinion is at all costs, please don't do it if you don't have to.
Mm-hmm. But here's what's interesting is that their story has been that if anything ever happened to him, he wanted Erica to take over. And let me tell you why that suddenly strikes me as odd. Because in that scenario, your first instinct is who's going to look after the kids.
Right.
So you're saying that what he wanted was for if anything happens to me, I want my kids to essentially become orphans because Charlie knew what it took to run an organization of that size. He was constantly on the road. We saw that just when I put together his calendar of everywhere he was.
I think I put that up. He worked over 300 days a year. So he essentially had 2 months off. But then during the school year, he did 250 college events personally. And to me, it makes no sense for him to want his wife to do what he was doing when they still had 2 toddlers. Like, it doesn't make sense. Now, there was apparently an insurance claim. The only person who would be able to claim it would be the CEO of the company, which is why she was made CEO. I believe that makes sense to me. But it's really weird that they're promoting this like it's a good thing when every interview with him and they called him chauvinist over it, him saying that he would prefer if you have younger children. He never said anything about older children, but if you have younger children, keep your kids out of school, homeschool, and the mother should be the one doing that. And now they're saying, well, he wanted an independent entrepreneurial, whatever this is, whatever this version of woman is this is not what he advocated for ever. He never did. This is full-on feminism. I think I posted about that too. This is full-on feminism. Charlie Kirk never supported that. Ever. And I was being sarcastic when I posted it. Because I posted it under somebody else. Where is it? Because it doesn't make any sense. I don't have it. That's too far back. But this is the exact opposite of everything Charlie Kirk stood for. And she's just steering into all of it. And it's very interesting. We're gonna get to that, Lou. We're gonna get to that in a second. And it's not about defamation. That's the other thing. They're spinning that whole thing.
he was constantly, it's nonstop hours, nonstop flying all over the nation. So he's like, if anything happens to me, I want my children to have not just one parent lost, but two parents lost, and to essentially be raised by nannies. I'll tell you when it really struck me.
Makes
I've
no
never revealed this
sense.
before. I didn't think one way or the other about this statement about Erica taking over. I thought, and I still do believe that at some point in the past he would have said, oh, she's super smart. And he used to say, oh, she's really smart, whatever, great comments about her. But it struck me as odd because when I sat down with Erica, I had said nothing on my show about that statement. And they had prepared a response to a question that I wasn't asking, meaning that they had a physical printout of a transcript. And they said, well, this is the transcript of when Charlie said, here's what he said about wanting Erica to take over. And I sort of waved away. I was like, this isn't something that I brought up on my show.
Yeah.
I don't need proof of something that a claim that I haven't made. And then suddenly I went, wait a second, that's kind of weird that you're bringing proof for a claim that I didn't make, which means it's on your mind, not my mind. And so then I asked a little bit more about it. And I said, well, when did he say this? And they said in August. That's kind of interesting.
Wow.
And I said, was this at Bill Ackman's house? And they said, no, it was at a donor retreat in Aspen. So I hunt down this donor retreat in Aspen and figured when it happened, and I have it on my timeline somewhere. I'll give it up. But this donor retreat in Aspen happens, and I figure out who's at this donor retreat in Aspen, and I reach out, and then they alleged that this was a question that somebody had asked and said, what happens if you die? Which is kind of a weird question. A lot of donor events, nobody's like, hey, what happens when you die? It's pretty, it's a pretty morbid thought. And then he died a month later. And I asked this person to just, hey, do you remember this happening? Person said, no. Reached out to another person that was at this Aspen event. And I said, hey, this is allegedly the event where this question was asked. And I'm now able to figure out also who the donor was that asked, by the way. I'll have that information for you guys soon. But I'd like to reach out to that donor. Do you remember Charlie saying that if anything happens to me, I want Erica to take over? I got another no. Very small group, exclusive group of donors in Aspen in August. And thus far, 2 do not remember Charlie saying that.
So here's the thing, like people always say that she just lies and moves on and lies, moves on. She just said what she said. In a little bit, you're going to hear her correct that because another donor is going to come up and say, no, yeah, I do remember him say it. So it's really interesting how people don't catch when she corrects things. They don't really care. They just hate her. This is just not true. Burn slots. What do you mean she doesn't stay home? You realize she does her podcast in her house, right? She homeschools her kids, all 4 of them. These people, I swear. They just say what they think sounds right, and it's hilarious. What's going on? Not worth it.
If you're 31 years old and someone asks you what's going to happen when you die, those people intend to harm you.
Weird.
I cannot look at that innocently.
To the contrary, what one person remembers, which sounds much more sensible, was that during Charlie's conversation, he's like saying how Turning Point's going to grow. And they're asking, how are you going to do all of this? Like, you're one person. And because he was kind of building a vision, which is what you do at these like donor events. It's like, here's where we are. Here's what we want to do. Here's what we're building out. That was Charlie. And apparently Charlie gave some total common sense answer of like, well, that's why I hire people under us to run this, and that. But nobody remembers. Thus far, I've only asked 2 people, him saying, if I die, I want Erica to take over for me.
It would have been so out of character because again, every public statement he's ever made, that has not been his position. Every single public statement. You go look at his personal podcast, you go look at interviews he sat in on other people's podcasts or radio shows. They talk all the time about, a woman working outside the home. He's like, hey, when they have young kids, it's just probably not the best idea, not the right time to do it. Raise your kids. It would be so out of character for him to say, yeah, I actually want her to take over my 300-day-a-year travel schedule.
I had somebody say that I was like still talking about the Charlie Kirk thing as if it's about Charlie Kirk. It's not about Charlie Kirk. None of this is about Charlie Kirk. This is about, it seems to be a power shift, especially on the right, where the neocons, the warmongers, the people who've gotten us into every war since Vietnam, this is about them trying to take back and take the movement back from MAGA. That's what this is. So MAGA got their guy in, who they wanted, who the neocons hate. Now they're all supporting him now all of a sudden because we're going to wars. So now they're all in, and MAGA's like, yeah, no, this is not what we voted for. They're going to lose everybody, and the left will be happy, but the left does they give away elections. They don't understand how to keep people because they always go too far. That's what they do. The word progress means to go further. And that's what progressives do. They go further and they go too far, and the American people are like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. boys and the girls, what? Nah, we're not doing this. You can't tell us what a woman. Yeah, we're not doing this. That's what the left is. Right now, they're literally dying to save illegal immigrants. You have illegal immigrants committing crimes, R-word, unaliving people, PDFs, and the liberals will say, no, they have to stay here. It's pure insanity. They don't know how to control themselves. I get it. That's what they believe. Fine. Now, not only are they fighting for these PDFs, but again, they're jumping in between them. They're getting shot, and then they try to make it seem as if they're coming after Americans. I told you guys earlier, there's a lady, she was crying. She was literally crying about saying that the Trump administration is there's a siege on Americans. I saw a dangerous one. This one's really dangerous. Let me see. I wish I can't log in IG. I don't know any passwords, so I can't log in, but there's a dangerous one, a Second Amendment one. This guy probably needs a visit. And I'm being serious. This guy probably needs a visit. I think I saved it. I didn't save it? Oh, man. He was talking about how the American government, why didn't I save that one? Is coming after our guns and how we need to stand up. And it's serious talk what he's doing. Why did I not save this? Sorry, I wasn't planning on using it, but it's important. Save. Archive. It's dark. No, I didn't save it. I just liked it, I guess. And he's saying, the federal government, they're coming after your guns. They're killing American citizens and who are just trying to stop people from taking Americans out of their homes and deporting them. And it's like, dude, that's not what's happening. And if you think that's what's happening, he's in his mind, he's ramping up the justification to start trying stuff against the feds. And if that happens, this goes back to somebody who made the point earlier. If they start cracking down on American citizens, it's because these crazy people are going after feds. This is not our fight. This is not our fight. You think just because someone's from Somalia that I'm gonna attack police and protect them? Why? If they're not supposed to be here, they're not supposed to be here. This is a weird thing that they're trying to force onto us to make us defend. I'm not defending these people. I don't know these people. They don't even like me. They don't even see me. They don't even see me as worthy of what I have because they believe that Black Americans squander our opportunity. I almost said all of them. A very large amount. They just don't see us as they don't respect us because we squander away things that and we take for granted things that we have and we're lazy. And this is just listen. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you what they think of us. This is just what it is. So these people fighting for these illegals, it's wild. It's really, really, really wild. But again, this is still part of the divide. You have to pick a side. You can't be like me and say, yeah, I don't like that they just shot that guy, but he's an idiot. What was he doing? You can't be in between. And it's wild. Yep. They look down on us for all these years. Now they're crying for our help. Not only they're crying for our help, they're demanding on behalf of all Black people. Say, all right, no, we're not doing this. Nope, no.
And he's also at that time, don't forget, being massively pressured by donors, right? He's being pressured and yelled at by donors. He's got, the Bill Ackman thing happens. Seth Dillon's pressuring him. He's getting people that are saying they're taking millions away from him. And his perspective was, I want my wife to endure this while my children are left absent with no parents. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying thus far, trying to confirm the story, I can't. And it's bothering me because the obvious thing is they should release the video. Because if you're not, you hooked him up for audio? You're just like, oh, we're just hooking you up for audio for the speech. It's like, if you got audio, you got visual. And I'm told that there was audio and visual at that event in the Hamptons. I'm going to keep going through people at this event
Yeah.
and seeing if someone will confirm that on record. But I do think it would be incumbent upon them to release it. It could have happened.
Was it raised in New York at the Hamptons retreat?
It was.
Okay.
I was told by Erica it was Aspen.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I was under the impression the what happens when you die question was out of the Hamptons.
Yeah, because people knew it was August, and so nobody actually knew that there was this donor event that
makes
happened
sense.
in Aspen and I can actually tell you the dates of it if you.
That
give
actually
me
makes a lot of
second.
sense because you hear, hey, a bunch of donors in,
What's that,
in
Sky?
August.
What? August
Okay.
15th to 17th.
Yeah,
So less than a month before he died.
I mean, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If I'm the FBI, I want to know who asked him what would happen when he dies. Because, again, you don't ask healthy 31-year-olds what's going to happen when they die.
Mhm.
That's a weird question to ask a 31-year-old.
Mhm.
31-year-olds don't drop dead.
The only people who do that are like insurance agents. Hey, have you thought about what happens, as you get older and when you pass away? Like, it is a weird question to ask somebody. Where's your business? Hey, old speaks. What happens to your channel if you die? It's like, why are you asking me this now? I'm 31. I'm not 31, but he was 31 and they're asking him about that. Very, very, very strange question.
They just don't.
And where he's doing, military training with Mikey. He's like, if anything happens, just go, walk, run. They were doing rehearsals.
Talking about the
They
amazing.
were running drills.
And you know what it
Charlie
was?
was like, 1, 2, 3, go, go. And Mikey was like, just practicing.
Yeah.
Totally. This is exactly. It just gets longer and longer. There should just be a book called Everything That Charlie Definitely for Sure Wanted and Asked For in the event of this tragic, never happened before assassination. And it is, I do not like the fact that we are being told that we have to believe. First they were going to say I was a liar, then they had to confirm that it was true. That Charlie messaged not only Andrew Kovac but Dan Flood the night before and said that he was worried he was going to be assassinated. But shouldn't he have also, would he have not confided that to his wife?
Great question. But yes, KMC. So she said, I bring up Kirk only because I seen it as a challenge of freedom of speech, and now this is happening. That's why I keep saying it's not really about him, not diminishing him or his accomplishments or anything. But this is not about him. For Candace Owens, it is, but it's much, 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 much bigger. Freedom of speech is much bigger than any one person. But there are some people that if they get shut up, it creates a vacuum and it shuts everybody down. She's one of them. She's one of them. She has the biggest voice. They tried it with Joe Rogan. It didn't work. They're trying with her. It's not working. It's not even close to working. So yes, I agree 100%. And it's weird. No, it's all good. No, I don't disagree with that. This is happening, and Charlie Kirk was the conduit to it. He's just he's what they're using. What's really sick though is he's dead, and they're still trying to capitalize on. It's a weird thing. I think she said it in a way. She said it. They're fighting for the ghost of Charlie or something like that, because the original attacks were all, "What would Charlie say?" And it's like, oh, this is like a "What would Jesus do" type of thing. They're making this guy into like a messiah. It's like, well, Charlie wouldn't agree with this, and she's disrespecting Charlie and his widow, and it's like it was a really, really weird, ghoulish way to look at things, and gross. Actually, I'm glad they stopped doing that because they're still kind of doing it with Erica Kirk. I may do a whole live on her because she's just completely lost all credibility. She's lots and lots and lots of lies coming out of her.
He didn't know. She had his phone. Okay, let's say that's true. Maybe you don't want your wife to carry that burden, that you have those fears, and you would rather prefer to say that to security and PR. But even if that is true, you're telling me that after his assassination, Andrew Kovac didn't tell Erica?
Right. Well, and there's some weird things about that.
Dan Flood didn't tell her, hey, right, this has happened. He just texted me. She heard that for the first time when I said it. So we are constantly in this bind between Andrew's stories and Erica's stories. And if I'm being honest, I think Andrew has been telling what he's supposed to be telling the public, because that's what a spokesperson does.
Right.
And I was also holding back out of wanting to believe that this was just a high stress situation and people needed time to adjust. But there were a lot of little lies like that, these are not little lies.
That's huge.
These are big lies.
Yeah.
The story with the surgeon, as I revealed, and Andrew tweeting that, and Erica told me to my face that Andrew went rogue, and I never trusted that because of HIPAA.
Right.
You can say Andrew went rogue, but you're not going to convince me a seasoned surgeon who trained in an Air Force base went rogue.
Right.
And just
Remember that story where they said that Charlie Kirk was shot with a 30-06, but his neck was so strong because he was so healthy, it stopped the bullet. Remember that story? And that the doctor supposedly said it. It was a lie. Erica Kirk made that up. And she was on the phone with the doctor and Andrew Clovet. Andrew Clovet. They were on the phone, and she said that out loud, justifying it in her mind as to why why there was no exit wound for the bullet. And I think it was Clovet went live, not live. Maybe he was live. He may have been on his platform. It may have been an X post. Whatever it was, he went and told the world that the surgeon said that there was no exit wound because Charlie had a super neck. And it's like, huh? Really? I don't know. Very strange.
Just opened up to a PR agent during the highest profile political assassination. And when my source told me that Erica was on the phone and that the quotation came from Erica, and, you know, I felt bad because they said it was like, she was like, oh, maybe he had a steel neck, you know, wife maybe trying to make sense, sort of a thing. Yeah. But it's a weird thing to lie to me about to my face. Right? That story that the person close to the surgeon told me, that makes sense. Like a wife, and they did this because they panicked about my episode. And then they call the surgeon and it's like, well, why didn't it go through? And the surgeon said, I don't know. If you're telling me it was 30-06, I don't know why it didn't go through. Yeah,
it is becoming increasingly obvious that whether or not this is the truth, it's becoming increasingly obvious. People are not believing he was shot anymore, or not shot with a 30-06 from the Losi Center. The public isn't buying it. They're just not buying it. And the more the public belief in that official narrative erodes, the more panicked they're getting, because I think the answer is going to point back to who actually did it.
There's a different reason. There's a different reason, Baron. The more people don't believe fed narratives, the less control they have over the narratives. They're so used to just giving something to the media and the media running with it. 9/11. They're just so used to just saying this. And then we accept it. Who else is going to say differently? There's no one else. It's always been the feds. They've always controlled the media. So now that they don't control it anymore, and you have this whole thing called the internets, the interwebs, where people can actually just look stuff up in an instant and share it and do Freedom of Information Act requests. Now it's like, what's going on, Ivalme? Now it's like, what's going on here? And the feds are like, we can't have this. Our narrative has to stick, to the point where, come on, JFK happened how long ago? 60 what? 63, 64? Like, how many years before we can know what actually happened? The feds have full control over it. Now they can't, before they can lock anything down, we all learn. And we are in the age of information. There's nothing they can do about it but run narratives and try to destroy people and smear them and condemn them and have rituals where they get all your friends and all your donors to condemn you and all of your whoever you work with and get you fired from your job. And if anybody donates to you, not even donate, anyone who runs ads with you, they go after your advertisers. You have to condemn O Speaks. If you don't, you'll never work again in this town. That's what this is. That's the old Hollywood thing. You'll never work again in this town. That's what they're doing to people. And it's I don't know.
It's just terrifying to them. So, you know, we stay on the case and we keep applying pressure, and they keep making mistakes. And as they do, we will continue to pick up those mistakes and evaluate them and let people know what those mistakes mean.
This week, I received a letter from Turning Point titled "Demand to Cease and Desist Defamatory Comments." This is
all right. So now we're on the cease and desist. This guy's going to tell his story on why he got his. I don't think I played too much. I didn't play the whole thing for sure, but TPUSA hit this guy up. He's the only one who's been looking into their finances, and they hit him with a cease and desist, and it's wild because they just hit Candace Owens with one also. Hers is different though. So that's one I wanted to talk about. We'll see why.
the first step when someone sues you for defamation. I know there are a lot of people out there making videos about Turning Point, so you should pay attention to this. They have started sending out cease and desist letters, and for some reason, they've decided to start with me. Apparently, they cannot handle the criticism from my teeny tiny YouTube channel. This letter is showing the world the type of organization Turning Point has become under Erica Kirk. They want to send legal letters to small YouTube creators. So we're going to go through this letter. Now, it is nice that we have this letter with their official statements, but the letter does nothing to change my suspicions. It does not address most of my questions. Instead of answering my questions, it is the precursor to a lawsuit unless I change my statements. That does nothing to reduce my suspicions. For the sake of avoiding miscommunication, I can change the title of the video if that makes them more happy. I already changed it from More Fraud at Turning Point USA to More Fraud at Turning Point USA, allegedly.
I'm sorry.
awesome.
I just enjoy him. There's something about it. It's like my teeny tiny YouTube channel. Allegedly. I enjoy that. I'm sorry for laughing at that because it's funny. It is funny. And it's ridiculous. Guys, I thought we left in 2025. I thought that I did this for everybody. You can't just sue people to make them shut up. We have to be done with that as a society. It is a uniquely American phenomenon of suing people for everything. You know, get into your car accidentally gently touches somebody else's car. Now you need the cops there. The insurance agency is getting involved. I mean, the whole scam of suing people just needs to end. Okay, it just needs to end. Get a job, work hard. If you feel that someone is putting out wrong information about you, don't start a cease and desist letter with, we don't intend to sue you. That's what he's saying is correct. That is exactly what a cease and desist is for. It's the first step to suing somebody. Otherwise, this could have been an email. If I got him to take something out of his video after I shared it, I said, this is incorrect. And he did it, when I say instantly, immediately took down the video and corrected it. Why can't Turning Point try to behave like a human and just have somebody email from the PR office, hey, Andrew, this could be you, and say, hey, I do PR for Turning Point USA. Happy to answer some of your questions. Just send them over. Or say, hey, you got this wrong. Do you mind please updating this? It's like, this is not right. They have so much money. They just are spending money on stupidity. And again, what is your end goal? As he says later on, he's like, I don't have any money. What is your end goal here with sending this letter? It's obviously going to backfire. But I just want to say the energy of this, I have lawyers. I can sue you. I'm rich. It needed to be left behind in 2025 with
Anton.
Brigitte Macron, okay? And of course, it backfires immediately. It backfires spectacularly because now Turning Point is on record because of this video and because of this letter they sent him. They are now on record going against themselves on record. We have received so many different stories from them regarding the drones that were there on the day of Charlie's assassination. First, Frank Turek came out and he said that while they were driving over to the event, he was showing Charlie live drone footage on his phone. And Charlie loved it. He was like, it's amazing. Then Brian Harpole, apparently unaware that Frank Turek had already told the truth, he moved to tell Sean Ryan that actually there were no drones because the university denied their request to fly them. And people were like, hey, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. You guys are saying two different statements. Why does it look like you're lying all the time? So, of course, Andrew Colvett came out, swooped in with his always perfecting PR, and he said this regarding the mix-up. Take a listen.
Early on, Frank Turek talked about that on the way there that he actually was looking at Charlie's phone and he saw drone footage from the event. Now, I had talked to, with that in mind, number one, I went to UVU and I actually put the drone up. We were going to do the survey. Immediately, law enforcement came up and said, hey, look, we need you to take down that drone. Now, my drone pilot had already made all the necessary steps with the FFA to make sure that we could do that. And I explained to the law enforcement officer, hey, look, you guys don't control this airspace. But he's like, well, we got policies, you have to do this. And we're not going to sit there and argue with him, right? So we ended up grounding the drone. We went and jumped through some hoops. We were trying to get some documents done. Long story short, what we ended up having to do was leave campus. We flew the drone. We were off campus. We flew the drone. We got the survey. So that kind of reinforced other people saying, Brian Harpole specifically saying, like, hey, we couldn't get permission to get a drone up in the air. And of course, people took that, what Frank said at the beginning, and said, hey, this is clear indication of lying and or a conspiracy. Well, what I found out was the picture that was being pushed around saying, hey, this is proof that there was drone footage was actually, it was very clear to me once I saw that picture. It is a wide angle shot of the crowd.
And let's throw that up. Yeah, let's throw that up.
Yeah.
This is actually the.
What's really funny about Gary, he's from Paramount Tactical, and he's always the one who's accidentally saying the truth. So right now he's about to hurt their case, and he's done this several times. First one was he proved that Mitch Snow was at Fort Huachuca. I played that. We went over that. Then he proved that Andrew Colvett was or not Andrew Colvett. He accidentally leaked personal text messages between him and Andrew Colvett from TPUSA. And that's when they gave the alibi of Erica Kirk that was the wrong date. And now here he is again. Oh, no. The other thing he did was he went to the school and walked up to where the shooter supposedly was set up. And he literally just walked upstairs and he was right there. And it's like, okay, so you just proved that security was either complicit and actually had something to do with the shooting, or they were so bad that they couldn't send somebody to walk up a flight of stairs. There was no door, no lock, no nothing. So every time this guy speaks on TPUSA, he reveals something on accident. So here he is proving that this footage was not from a drone.
I think the images Guys, I sent them to you. Yeah, this is actually, there was a walkway or a bridge elevated that was just from our events team that was setting up that event. They went up there to, as they always did, to show Charlie the crowd size. So they took those images.
No, yeah, and I completely understand
20
why.
seconds, Gary.
Frank,
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand why Frank thought this was a drone. You know, but again, I think it almost shows that the lack of conspiracy, because you guys aren't sitting there, you know, micromanaging what people say. It's just different people's perspectives, and there.
He always makes a mistake. So now TPUSA is going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, that was a drone."
Isn't some sort of collusion?
Yeah, that's really nice. Except now Turning Point USA's lawyer is going to dispute Andrew, and the worst PR, the worst person that PR money could buy, Paramount Tactical, because in the letter to Wolves in Finance, he says, no, there were drones, but it was only allowed for some people. But there were drones that day. Take a listen.
On December 7th, I posted a video called Top 10 Clowns of the Year. In this video, I called Turning Point my #1 clown of the year. I talked about the now infamous interview with Turning Point's chief security person talking about the day that Charlie Kirk was murdered. I point out the massive contradiction where he says they were not allowed to fly drones. Then I show the interview with Frank Turek where he says he was watching drone footage with Charlie Kirk. This part is breaking news because I'm not aware this has ever been discussed. The lawyer in this letter says the following: there was no discrepancy. UVU prohibited Turning Point USA from flying drones for security purposes during the event, but did allow a Turning Point USA media production drone to briefly fly over the location before the event to collect limited B-roll footage. First of all, how could this be defamatory if I had no idea about any of this? Second, I find this explanation absurd. You are telling me that the security team was not allowed drones, but the media team was? That is the official explanation from Turning Point's lawyer. My honest opinion is I do not believe that. But if that did happen, that is really silly, and it may have cost Charlie Kirk his life.
He is all of us. It's just, it's so absurd. Guys, you've had so much time to get your story straight. Were there drones? Were there not drones? Now it's okay, there were drones, but only some people could have them. The media team was allowed to fly drones temporarily, and then he saw that. We were just told by Paramount Tactical and Andrew that was just the wide shot that Frank saw. Now we're like, oh no, the media team, that is what happened. They were allowed to fly drones, but security couldn't. What? You're gonna let media fly drones temporarily to get a shot, but you're not gonna let the security team fly drones temporarily to get a shot of what they're looking at? Does that make any sense? And by the way, hey, Brian Harpole, how about being resourceful? If you figured out the media team could do it and they get it to Frank, why didn't they get it to you? Why didn't they get to you what the rooftops looked like? Oh, I know, because you're all lying. That's pretty obvious by now. You're all lying. Please just stop lying about everything. Because eventually what's happening is what we're going through right now. The public is having to decide whether or not you have been making genuine mistakes repeatedly, or if you have been fibbing nonstop at all hours of every day because you're engaged in a cover-up. And I am of the latter opinion. I have been for a while. There are just too many inconsistencies at all time. It's not that difficult to remember the truth. Judge Judy, watched it in bed with my grandma. If you're going to be a liar, you better have a good memory. And it turns out.
And people keep thinking what she's saying when she says you're complicit in a cover-up. That they're saying that she's saying that they have something to do with his death. You can be covering it up because you don't want the feds or anybody else to find something else, like fraud, like Tyler Boyer and him being a independent contractor for 10 years and the COO. And it's like, there's just other things that they could be doing that they could be trying to cover up that has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk, whether he was alive or passed away. They just don't want people to look into it. So you could be complicit in the cover-up for a completely different reason, for your own independent reason. It has nothing to do with saying, oh, she's accusing them of unaliving Charlie Kirk. No, that's not what she's saying. She said they're covering up something. What is it? Because they keep lying about stuff. And there's so many lies. I think I'm going to do a whole live on just on Erica Kirk's lies. Because the lies don't even make sense. They're so dumb and small that there's really no reason to do it. And I can't see any motive to just make up stuff. And for whatever reason, they're all doing it.
None of you guys have a good memory. The person that had the photographic memory is dead. That was Charlie Kirk, okay? That was your boy wonder, and you've now lost him. Speaking of inconsistencies, for example, last week I told you that I'm working on this investigation, the theme of sex trafficking. It's coming up too much. Child sex trafficking in particular. And so I was interested in Erica having said that while she was quote unquote living in China, she was working with victims of sex trafficking. Okay. I want you to remember what she said. Take a listen.
I decided to create something called Everyday Heroes Like You, where we're able to, originally, it was focused on bringing funds and awareness to various grassroots organizations that were in specific communities that would be able to have volunteers that are transparent with their funds, that are actually doing what they're saying they're doing, instead of just having 70% of the funds go to admin and only 30% towards the cause. It kind of grew into something more global. I was living in China and doing a lot of work with the victims from sex trafficking, and then began to phase that into working with the Marine Corps and the Army, and then was able to work with a orphanage in Romania to help sustain them during their winter seasons, and giving them more clothing items or tangible items rather than just money.
Then I told you guys that having asked this question through official channel Turning Point USA, I received a response alleging that Erica never lives there. So that's coming from Erica. She actually never lived there. They said that she simply visited for 2 weeks, you know, like a tourist, just to visit the Great Wall and perhaps see other monuments in history. Then somebody emailed me an interesting video of Charlie Kirk. And apparently he disagrees with that new assessment. This is a video of Charlie debating someone named Ben Carollo. Take a listen.
When you go to China, let me just tell you, you'll drive down the street and you will see dead people laying in the middle of the street. You will see people defecating.
Go to China then. Go to China. Take a video.
Actually,
Bring
you know what?
Cameras. Go to China. Take a video with these cameras. I dare you right now.
Unlike you, my wife lived in China for 6 months, and she'll show you the videos. She'll show you the images. They don't have a regard for human life. They don't value people as the individual.
Whoops.
What's going on here? Okay, will the real Erica Kirk please stand up? Okay, because this isn't, you can't say you lived there and say you didn't live there or there for sure. And I've got your husband saying my wife lived there. So he clearly thought you lived there. You thought you lived there. And then somehow now you don't want to live there.
Hey everybody, Pastor Gary Hamrick here from Cornerstone Chapel, inviting you to a...
Okay, so this goes back to, well, I'm just going to play this through. This is back to the whole Zionism thing. This is a Christian pastor, and you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this.
Husband saying my wife lived there. So he clearly thought you lived there. You thought you lived there. And then somehow now you don't want to live there.
Hey everybody, Pastor Gary Hamrick here from Cornerstone Chapel, inviting you to a special Wednesday night service January the 21st, where we're going to talk about anti-Semitism. It's on the rise in churches and in conservative politics. Consider Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. We'll talk about them too. I'll have special guests with me, Pastor Rob McCoy, the leader of Turning Point Faith, Samuel Smadja from Israel, an Israeli businessman. So join us on Wednesday, January the 21st.
The Israeli businessman.
All right, so he said Wednesday, January 21st. That was last week. But did you hear what he said about McCoy? I thought he didn't work for them. Erica Kirk said he does not work for TPUSA. I found that weird. I also find it really funny how she's going, yes, yes. She has a sense of humor that the left doesn't see, and then a lot of on the right now, they don't see. So they think she's just evil. But a lot of the time she's being sarcastic and they take it literally. It's really funny.
Okay, will the real Erica Kirk please stand up? Okay, because this isn't, you can't say you lived there and say you didn't live there or there for sure. And I've got your husband saying my wife lived there. So he clearly thought you lived there. You thought you lived there. And then somehow now you don't want to live there.
Hey everybody, Pastor Gary Hamrick here from Cornerstone Chapel, inviting you to a special Wednesday night service January the 21st, where we're going to talk about anti-Semitism. It's on the rise in churches and in conservative politics. Consider Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. We'll talk about them too. I'll have special guests with me, Pastor Rob McCoy, the leader of Turning Point Faith, Samuel Smadja.
Leader of Turning Point Faith. Erica Kirk said he does not work for TPUSA. How is he the leader of TPUSA Faith? All they do is like, she didn't even catch that. I heard it like, huh? She openly said he does not work for TPUSA.
From Israel, an Israeli businessman. So join us on Wednesday, January the 21st.
The Israeli businessman. Not the Israeli businessman. Look, it is an Israeli business. Operation Mocking Faster is an Israeli business. So I respect that. That's straightforward and it's honest. And so I hope you guys could go, and it's going to be riveting. Maybe somebody could ask him a question about why he's trying to rehabilitate people that went to prison for harming children. Might be more relevant than me saying that, you know, mass murdering Palestinians is wrong. I feel like that's more relevant, but maybe it's not, because anti-Semitism is now noticing. Right? Noticing what we're doing down in Argentina, noticing what we're doing over in Gaza, and not getting into line and letting us get away with it. So it should be riveting. Again, don't know how people are attending these churches other than thinking of it as stand-up comedy, because that is a good reason. We all need to laugh. We all need to let loose. It's been, you know, last year was a tough year. And if you're looking for comedy, Rob McCoy and the Cornerstone Church can provide that. So thank you guys. Also, and just the topic of shamelessness. I don't know if we pulled this, Skylar. If not, it's cool because I can bump it to tomorrow. Did we see the Fox News thing? Do you have that? Like they were basically promoting that Israel is giving Charlie an award for fighting anti-Semitism, like the country of Israel. Yeah, do you want to pull that up? This is just, it's so shameless. Israel will honor the late Charlie Kirk with an award for opposing anti-Semitism. They're not going to stop. They're like, this ghost belongs to us. It belongs to us. And it just makes you feel like they killed them. I don't know. They're just trying and doing too much. And you guys are going to love the fact that I have another text message that I'm going to reveal to you, which was sent to Charlie Kirk. Another, I would say, placed threat from one of his donors. I've got a lot more information coming because apparently, hilariously, Turning Point USA purged a bunch of their employees that they thought were giving me information, and they weren't. And so now they're giving me information. After being...
So they... I'm not covering it out here, but it is funny that they fired a bunch of people that they thought were leaking. And as soon as they fired them, they started leaking. Because you just fired me. I wasn't even doing anything wrong. It's pretty funny.
Sued by a sitting president of a foreign country whose husband would like to strangle me with his large bare hands. Any other letter thereafter, it just doesn't do it. Just not the same experience. I'm not excited anymore when Noah calls. I'm sorry, Noah. If you're watching this, I'm very sorry. It's less exciting for me this year. In order to feel what I felt when Trump called me over a first man,
Lou, this is the cease and desist.
According to that, or regarding that lady's penis, it's just going to take a lot more, to get me hyped, to get me amped. I would basically have to be sued now by like Vladimir Putin over the Great Schism, seeking literal reparations. We'd have to repair it. Me and Mr. Putin would sit down, hash out the deals with the term Pope, patriarchs over a millennium-old debate. That would make me get out of bed. But this Turning Point USA, a cease and desist. Is that what we're doing? Is this the chapter that we are on? Returning the chapter here to lawfare? This is what's left. You want us to believe this is Charlie's legacy? In the future, Turning Point USA is going to be thought of as the girl that peaked in high school. Free market capitalism, open debate, prove me wrong. Now it's suddenly shut up and serve the new queen. That's what they want, right? So just to recap, our cultural cardinal rule number 1 is that it's gay to send a legal letter. It's very gay. You shouldn't do it, especially you can just pick up the phone and call someone. People are open to changing their mind, open to being wrong. You just have to call someone. Erica, chairman, CEO, Erica, my girl. Heavy is the head that wears the crown after its rightful owner was deposed. Am I right? Am I right? Turning Point and I obviously had a long speaking arrangement, a speaking contract, which was still in effect when Charlie was assassinated. We've had a contract to speak going back to 2019, 2020. So obviously, given Charlie's assassination and the direction that my investigation took into what happened on that day, we moved to terminate that agreement, which was supposed to go on for another couple of years. So naturally, to give them credit, because this is a bit different from wolves in finance than going after a YouTuber who has no relationship with them. Naturally, in any contract relation, there is standard NDA agreements that you come to. It's just kind of written in there. You're not going to disparage me. You're not going to defame me. And so they are, broadly speaking, making the allegation here that my investigation into who killed Charlie Kirk is naturally disparaging. And hey, you accepted our money. You took our money for years while Charlie Kirk was alive. So we're executing on this. You're not allowed to disparage us for another 12 months since we canceled that agreement. So the letter reads, and I'm Xing out the beginning parts that just says LLC names and stuff. And I'm also not going to reveal their lawyers' names. I don't think it's necessary. On video calls on December 4th, 2025, this was obviously pertaining to us ending our contract, our termination. We terminated our contract. And December 15th, I requested a retraction of Ms. Owens Farmer's disparaging statements and again provided notice that the injuries caused by her statements are substantial and continuing to accrue. Ms. Owens Farmer has declined to issue a retraction. To the contrary, she has stated that she, quote, doesn't feel any differently about people that she mentioned on the show, and she thinks that there are shady people at Turning Point USA. Yeah, so I guess I didn't know this, but I was supposed to, according to them, when we had that meaningful discussion, which I was appreciative that we had this open book discussion. I sat down with Erica and Justin Strife, but that I was supposed to come out and say they're amazing and everybody didn't do nothing. That's it. They're wonderful people. Why would I change my mind because we had a discussion? I came out and I told the truth and things that were answered. And actually, what ended up happening was you conceded points to me. Anyways, it goes on. As a consequence, her statements are continuing to cause harm to Turning Point USA. We are currently working to calculate the full extent to date of the still accruing damages. Okay, so someone's with a calculator and they're calculating. I'm wondering if there's a spreadsheet running of the damage that's being done by Turning Point USA themselves. Andrew Colvett. If we're going to sue anybody for accruing damages, if I'm running the company, I'd go with Andrew Colvett first. Brian Harpole, that's a lot. A lot happened there with that car crash interview. Am I being punished because you lied? And I realized it or something, and somehow we have this contract that we've had for years, and now it's you're not allowed to see us do anything bad because remember we paid you. Goes on, in my December 2nd letter, I highlighted Ms. Owens' Farmer's ongoing contractual obligation not to make any disparaging, false, misleading, or otherwise defamatory comments about Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliate programs, or services. See speaking agreement, blah, blah. Owens Farmer freely undertook this obligation in exchange for payment by support from and access to Turning Point USA. Her obligation remains in effect for 12 months following the term of her agreements, which were terminated on December 2nd, 2025.
So people keep saying that the cease and desist is over the investigation. It's not. It's over her breaching a contract and talking about them. That's different. And they're comparing it to when she said, "Sue me, I want all the smoke." She was saying, "Sue me for defamation," because what I'm saying is true, and you'll have to prove it. So what they did was they found a way to go after in a different way. It's smart what they're doing. They're saying, "Well, we're not going to sue you for lying because we can't prove you're lying. We're going to sue you for disparaging us when we're under contract." It's pretty smart. I think it's smart. It's not going to work, but it's smart.
Since that letter, Turning Point USA's executives have repeatedly made themselves available via phone, text, and in-person meetings to provide information and documentation. That's just not true. I mean, I'm speaking to one person at Turning Point USA, and we had that sit down. To Ms. Owens Farmer, in the hopes that providing her with the truth would get her to stop disparaging Turning Point USA in violation of the parties' contracts. Yet not.
See, they keep saying disparaging. Who is they? TPUSA. What do you mean, who is they? That's what they're suing her, or that's what they're threatening to sue her for. They're not going to sue her. They're gonna settle for an amount over the contract, but they're not going to sue her for defamation. They're just not, because they will have to release. They're going to have to prove that she's lying, and she's going to get discovery, and she's going to be able to look at text messages and all that stuff. They're not going to do that, but they can sue her for saying, "Hey, you're smearing us. You're accusing us of things that we're saying is not true. You're under contract. You're not supposed to do that." That's what they're suing her for. There's a big difference. It doesn't sound like a big difference, but there is, because it's completely different saying, "Hey, you're under contract. You're not supposed to talk negatively about me." And she's talking negatively about them in their opinion. Now, she could say, "I'm just telling the truth." They're saying, "Well, I don't think it is the truth. You need to stop." But that has nothing to do with the investigation.
Outstanding the reminder that my letter provided to Ms. Owens Farmer of her obligations and the good faith efforts made by Turning Point USA's leadership to answer her many questions, she has continued to make statements in violation of her contractual obligations in a manner that is reckless.
See, so it's about the contract. This has nothing to do with saying she's defaming us during this investigation and making accusations that we had something to do with unaliving Charlie Kirk. She's saying things that go against our contract. That's the difference.
Knowing and intentional. For example, she has published a list of lies that she attributes to Turning Point USA, and she has stated that there is definitely financial impropriety at the company. Which lie on our Turning Point USA list of lies did they correct? Nothing. They gave an excuse for the lies, and I told the public about the excuse. They said Andrew went rogue. Andrew did this. I don't know why he said that. I don't know why they said that. They have conflicting answers about the drones. Brian Harpole says this. Andrew Colvett says this. Their lawyer says that. So what am I doing wrong by tracking that? Isn't the issue that you lied? Not the issue that the public noticed? There's not a single thing that they cleared up that I then said, "Oh, okay, I just completely had that wrong on our list of lies." They conceded. Erica came out and said, "Charlie, I had his phone. He never said the night before that he was afraid he was going to die." She said that on Glenn Beck. They then get in front of me. They say, "Okay, yeah, no, he did. I didn't know because it was in a special, app. Yeah, he also messaged Dan Flood. I didn't know because we're not talking to Dan Flood." Okay, what am I missing here? This next sentence sends me. She has claimed.
So what you're missing here is they're not suing you for lying. They're suing you for making them look bad. And they can do that because you're on contract saying you can't make them look bad. But they're not calling you a liar. They're just saying that that's not true. That's not true. You can't say that only because we're in a contract. Otherwise, they have nothing. They would have to sue for defamation. They can't. Well, they can, but they know they would not win because they would have to release everything that she's saying and prove that it's a lie. When Cardi B sued, what's her name? What was that chick's name? Tasha K. Tasha K was saying I think she said she had a STD, and then she said that she was doing drugs. So what did Cardi B have to do to prove that that was a lie and defamation? She went and got tested. Really simple. And she got tested, and proved she didn't have an STD and that she doesn't do drugs. She took a drug test also. Okay, now you are defaming me. You lied, and I just proved that you lied. It's really similar with the Brigitte Macron thing. They're not gonna go through with the lawsuit. Why? They're gonna have to prove that Candace Owens is lying. They're gonna have to prove that she is a woman. They're not gonna do that because they can't do that because she's not a woman. You don't understand. No. Burning Sots, you don't understand. You don't understand. Yes, in the real world, that's it. But if you're going to sue her, you have to prove that she's lying. You can't just say she's lying. Brigitte Macron has to prove she's a man. I mean, that she's a woman, that she's not a man. See? So yes, you're right. She's making accusations. She has to prove it in the court of public opinion. Yes, but in court, Brigitte Macron has to prove she's lying in order to say you're defaming me. You can't just say I don't like what she's saying. She's being a meanie. She's a big bully. No, that's not how it works. You have to say nope. She's lying, and she knows she's lying, and I'm going to prove with this blood test that I am a woman. And once she proves that she's a woman, okay, now she could say, well, there it is. You defamed me. She's not going to do that. She's not going to do that because she can't, because she's a man. Everybody knows she's a man. You don't disappear for 30 years of your life and then just pop up out of nowhere. That's not how it works. I'm not even going to go into that. The suit will not go through. I'm telling you now, it will not go through. Brigitte will not be able to prove that she's a woman because she's not. And photographs aren't going to be enough. She doesn't even have photographs of herself for the entire first half of her life. You know why? Because she didn't exist as a woman. And Candace Owens gave her several opportunities to answer to it before she reported it. She did the right thing. So the suit will not work, cannot work. You're missing the point. I don't know if you're listening to what I'm saying. I don't have to prove anything. If Brigitte Macron wants to say that she is being defamed, she has to prove that Candace Owens is lying. The only way to prove that she's lying is to say, look here, I am a woman. This person keeps saying I'm a man. I'm not. Here's the blood test. Bam, done, over. If she can't do that, that's it. So she has to prove it. Not Candace Owens. Candace Owens doesn't have to prove anything. The onus is on Brigitte Macron. If she wants to get this reward or award of however much money she thinks she's going to get, she has to prove that Candace Owens is lying. Candace Owens does not have to prove that she's telling the truth. The burden is on the person suing. That's it. So I don't know why you're saying that she has to prove that. I don't understand what you're trying to say. It's not making sense. Same thing's going to happen with TPUSA, only TPUSA has a much easier case because she's under contract. But this contract is going to be completely different because they can only sue her for so much money. They're not going to be able to sue her for the defamation stuff because that's a completely different lawsuit.
Sentence sends me. She has claimed to know that there are people at Turning Point USA who are not good people and has suggested that Turning Point USA and TPUSA Faith have been infiltrated by military operatives. Yes, I do know there are people at Turning Point USA who are not good people. I stand by that. It's the truth.
See, that's an opinion. Now, in a case of defamation, that won't matter because how do you prove good versus bad? That's subjective. So in this suit, it's going to work because it's under contract. Hey, we see that as a bad thing. And she's speaking bad about us. What's going on, True? So that's the difference in the lawsuits, and people are conflating the two. They're not understanding that it's different.
I specifically said Tyler Boyd was a sexual deviant. I stand by that. It's the truth. Turning Point USA Faith, the military. I'm sorry I looked up these people. I'm sorry that Rob McCoy is out there defending somebody who went to prison for molesting kids.
Like all these things, they can't sue and call it defamatory if it's true.
The issue is I noticed. Again,
I don't understand. No. If I want to sue you, then I have to prove it's a lie. I don't understand what you're not understanding about this. No. If you say something about me, that doesn't make it true. But if I want to sue you over it and say that it's not true, I have to prove you're lying. This is weird that you don't understand the difference. You can say anything you want. Truth is truth, lies are lies. If I'm lying about you, I'm lying about you. if you were lying about me in your own scenario, I don't have to prove anything, or you don't have to prove anything until lawsuit come in. Then I have to prove it. So no, if you say something about me, it's true until I prove it. So absolutely not. How's that what you're getting out of this? I don't understand how that's where your mind goes. That's weird. Yes, until law comes in. This is weird. You guys are seeing in real time. This is a person on Twitch. You're seeing in real time why people think that you can sue for anything, because they think, well, you're lying. It's like, no. Until a lawsuit happens, then I can say this person is lying about me, and I'm going to prove they're lying, and I want damages. You have to prove the damages. You can't prove the damages without proving that it's a lie. In public, you could say anything you want. You could say I was born a giraffe. It doesn't matter. Until I can prove that there's damages of you calling me a giraffe, I don't have to prove anything. You don't have to prove anything. This is weird that people think like this. Now, in the court of public opinion, absolutely. What you're saying is true. Yeah. You can't just say burn slots is a giraffe. You can, but no one's going to believe you, and then you lose credibility in the court of public opinion. But that has nothing to do with what's happening here. You're conflating something. It's weird. It's weird that you're doing this. You can't go to court and say, this Speaks is a liar. They're going to say, okay, I want money. They're going to say, no, what's he lying about? Well, he said this, and it's clearly not true. How do we know it's not true? You have to prove it's not true. Burn slots. Do you not know how? Are you in this country? Are you from America? Because I know Europe does this. This is a thing in Europe. I know they're doing this now. I think I showed it was 10,000 or 12,000 lawsuits that are being not lawsuits, convictions in Europe. I think that's what it is. But in public, you could say anything you want. That's freedom of speech. But if I sue you and want money, I have to prove you're a liar. You don't have to prove anything. Now, it would be good for you and smart for you to prove it, because then you're going to probably lose the lawsuit. But the other person still has to prove that you're a liar, because it has to be intentional. In order for something to be a lie, it has to be an intentional lie. You could be just wrong. If I had an opinion and said that you're dumb, you can't sue me for that, because that's an opinion. If I said, oh, you did not go to school, and you say, here's my degree, now you've defamed me. If I said you're not an MD, you're a doctor. Now, if I say you're a crappy doctor, you can't sue me for saying you're a crappy doctor. Unless I'm lying. And I can't, that's subjective. Now, if I said, oh, he's not really an MD, he didn't go to a med school, now you can get there's some real actionable things that you can do there. You see? I hope you see. This is weird. So you guys can't. They try to prove this isn't criminal. It even says criminal notebook. Whatever this link is, I can't pull it up. Burden of proof to convict somebody. You're making my point. If the federal government says that you unalive somebody, there is a burden of proof. You're innocent until proven guilty. Yes, that's criminal. Defamation has nothing to do with a crime. Defamation is civil. Jesus. Are you serious right now? Do you really not know the difference between criminal law and civil? Like, what is this? This is a lesson. So the only reason I'm highlighting, nobody else can see this. Nobody else can see this. So I'm highlighting this for a reason. People really think like this. Criminal, yes, you can't go to jail off of unless the government proves you did something wrong, or whoever proves you did something wrong. But if I sue you for money, that's completely different. The burden of proof becomes, okay, if this person is lying, you need to prove that they're lying. Otherwise, I can't afford you damages. That's different. This is wild. If the government makes an accusation, who has to prove it? Yeah, the accuser. That if it's a criminal accusation, yes, because the repercussions for a criminal offense is jail. Right? The repercussions for a civil offense is money. That's the difference. If you sue me for lying, you have to prove I'm lying. You can't just say I'm lying and get money. I'm not going to jail. You see the difference or no? I think this person's from Canada. They cannot be from the United States. Well, I have talked to some people who don't know the difference. They don't understand the end game is money in civil. You have to prove damages. How do you prove damages? Well, they cost me something. They cost me money. The end result is not me going to prison. You can't just lock somebody up over an accusation. Yes, the burden of proof is on the person who's doing that. I don't think this person is being genuine. But I still wanted to show it so people understand where people's minds are at. They don't know what they're talking about. Most people have no idea what they're talking about.
And where is the lie that I have told? Let's see if we're going to get to it. Moreover, it
There it
continues.
is.
She has accused
There it is.
a Turning Point USA employee of being intentionally evasive in an effort to clear Erica Kirk's name, specifically as to whether Ms. Kirk was at Fort Huachuca in or around an alleged secret meeting that Ms. Owens Farmer has linked to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, I told the truth. I said that I requested this multiple times over weeks, and each time I was given an excuse. That's just the truth. I was told she was really busy, and then she popped up at a game, and I said, hey, can I get something? And they sent me something that wasn't what I asked for. So that's just the truth. And then said that it was on me last week because I had my son's birthday and family in town that I was going to send you a screen record of what I actually wanted. And I said, maybe it's because there's a third party there. It's not clear. But to date, they haven't sent me what I asked for.
See, so these are all opinions. She accused somebody of being evasive. Okay, how do you prove that? She accused somebody of being a sexual deviant. Okay, well, that's a matter of opinion. To somebody, having an affair is being a sexual deviant. To other people, that's part of their relationship. So they're not suing over facts. They're suing over her saying negative things about them. There's a difference. And apparently, there are still people who don't understand the difference. Now, how the media is portraying it is that she's finally being sued for defamation. It's not what this is. It's for breach of contract, to not speak negatively against them.
So I told the truth. In short, Ms. Owens Farmers has not put an end to what she has expressly admitted to be a flood of allegations against people at Turning Point USA, people at Turning Point Action, and people who work for the Charlie Kirk show. Yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew Cole, that sucks. My December 2nd letter, it continues, emphasize that Ms. Owens Farmer must cease her disparaging comments. And this letter reiterates that obligation that includes, in part, ceasing to state or imply that Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliates, programs, or services played any part in Mr. Kirk's assassination.
So they're very smart what they're doing. They're combining the two to make it seem like this is about the investigation. They're saying she needs to stop talking about it in a bad way toward us. It has nothing to do with with her claims. So this is a way that they can protect that. It seems like it may work. We'll see. I don't think it's going to work because Candace Owens is not going to stop. Matter of fact, the next day she did a whole episode on Erica Kirk. So they're trying to make it look like they're suing her for something that they're not. Breach of contract is completely different than defamation. Now, there could be damages for breach of contract. And the more negative things you say are what lead to the damages. In defamation, you have to prove she's lying, and that's not what they're not claiming that. They're just disagreeing. This is very interesting. Again, they figured out a very clever way to do this without having to give up the information that they would have to do for defamation. I think it's smart.
Ms. Owens Farmer must not state or imply that Turning Point USA and or its employees, agents, directors, officers, affiliates, programs, or services knew about the assassination beforehand, participated in the assassination day of, or covered up the truth about the assassination after the fact.
See? She can't say it anymore. So they don't have to prove that she's lying. She can't say it because she's under contract that she can't say things. Fascinating.
Okay. That's it. That's the guts of the letter. Now, I've been very clear that there's only one reason, again, kill me for having common sense, that people lie. Why do people lie? Because they're covering something up. There's no other reason to lie, actually. You could be pathological, I suppose. You could just do it for funsies. But when you consistently tell lies, it's usually because you're covering up something. And if it's a small lie, my kid tells a little fib, it's because they're covering up something that they don't want you to find out, right? So because Turning Point USA is lying, it is a totally fair and reasonable assessment that they are engaged in a cover-up. Now, are they protecting one another, their mistakes that they made? Are they trying to protect the organization because they know there are some bad eggs, loyalty to one another because they knew each other, going back a decade, blackmail? I can't tell you why, but I can say that when people lie, it's because they're engaged in a cover-up. And that is something I'm going to stick by, an opinion I'm going to stick by, actually. So now regarding the broader point about financial impropriety, which being financially improper is not a crime, right? If you have a charity and actually only 1 cent out of $1 actually goes to what you say it's going to go to, it's not illegal, right? I'm not saying that's the case for Turning Point USA. We've barely covered their finances, actually. But I think that what they want is your money. So I'll make amends. Everybody watching, give all of your money to Turning Point USA. They are amazing. They are above board. They do nothing wrong. They're not focused on money. They just want yours. If you are watching this, please, if you have a 401k, consider giving that to Turning Point USA. If you're watching this, please, if you're saving up to take your kids to a theme park, instead think about parking that money with Stacey Sheridan and Tyler Boyer and Erica Kirk at Turning Point USA. If you've got a grandma and she's frail and she's sick, consider rewriting her will and giving it to Turning Point USA. It will go to a very good cause. There's always a need for more pyrotechnics.
I'm gonna actually cover. So she's throwing shots right here. There was a guy who I think he was like 70 or 90, whatever. He changed his whole will and redirected the money from his family, who was suing TPUSA. Redirected money from his family and is change it all to a donation to TPUSA and Tyler Boyer. And his caretaker just so happened to work for TPUSA. Wild lawsuit. I'm gonna cover that because that's gonna be part of the lies that they're doing and what they're up to. I just think it's fascinating that people think that she's gonna stop when you can hear her. She's still taking shots. Israel's the greatest. Israel.
Next, if you are trying to pay down your credit card, maybe don't do that and try to do a monthly payment instead to Turning Point USA. And yeah, they are nothing they've ever done has been financially improper. It's crazy that anyone would say that. In fact, they are the most proper organization in the world. Israel's the most moral army in the world, and Turning Point USA is the most financially proper organization in the world. And if you want to know how,
so this is clear sarcasm, right? People on X were saying she's finally admitting that she's lied. I'm like, you people, either you're outright lying or you don't understand sarcasm with certain people. You just don't get it. You really think all of a sudden she's saying Israel's the most moral army in the world and that she means it because there's a lawsuit? It's clear sarcasm and they don't get it.
Crazy that anyone would say that. In fact, they are the most proper organization in the world. Israel's the most moral army in the world, and Turning Point USA is the most financially proper organization in the world. And if you want to know how proper they are, they're sitting around they got a legal team to ensure that good things are said about the finances, which I think I've covered on this show like a couple of times. The thrust of this is looking into the people that are taking over Turning Point USA, their backgrounds, and I'm going to continue to be honest about that.
Not going to stop.
I said to my lawyer, here's what we're actually going to do with Turning Point. What do you know? How do you reply to this, right? Could they make a thing out of this? Because technically you do have that non-disparagement clause. You have it for 12 months since the contract was officially terminated. Yeah, there's also things known in contract law as unforeseeable circumstances when you sign an agreement. And when I signed an agreement to go on tour with Charlie Kirk, I think it would be fair to argue that his assassination, his public assassination, was an unforeseeable circumstance. In fact, I signed on the dotted line to work beside Charlie Kirk because he built a company that I believed in. Okay. And now everything that company seems to be about runs counter to my belief. In fact, there are strong contractual arguments to be made about unconscionable clauses. I would say it would be unconscionable for me to choose silence in the wake of Charlie Kirk's public assassination. It is unconscionable. I actually don't need a judge to decide on that. I don't need a judge to decide on that because the ultimate judge is in heaven. And I told you guys, Turning Point USA, you'd have better luck suing the Sun. Get your lawyer to send a cease and desist to the Sun, and you will have better luck in terms of getting it to stop than from getting me to look away to what happened to Charlie. That's how I feel, okay? And you can just take that as a fact, take it to the bank, do what you have to do, get your donors, and I'm sure you got a lot of them to fund, you know, whatever it is. But I told my lawyer, here's what you do, go back to them and say, how much money do you want? This contract stuff is just, it's done, guys.
Cursed.
This whole thing of contracting people so that you can.
Oh, she almost cursed right there. Say, what the?
Here's what you do, go back to them and say, how much money do you want? This contract stuff is just, it's done, guys. This whole thing of contracting people so that you can be a bad person and getting a lawyer to read times, it's done. It's over. It's dead on arrival. Name your price, Turning Point USA. How much would you like? Would you like all of your money back? What's it worth? What's it worth to you, actually? I want to know the number because I'm going to go online, start a GoFundMe and raise it overnight. That's how much people care about getting to the truth. So you're going to see how much people actually care about learning what happened on September 10th. There are things that you should value above money in life. My God is not money. Okay, I don't worship money. I do worship truth. And I would like to know truthfully what took place on September 10th. And if I have a platform, which is not my platform, actually it's God's platform. If I have a platform and I can get to the truth of that, I'm gonna use it for those purposes. So just name your price. How much money do you want in your pocket to release me from this contract? Think about it and email us back. Update to what I said to Baron yesterday. Another donor who was at the Aspen event does remember, actually says that they do remember Charlie mentioning Erica. If, you know, something happened, that Erica would know what to do. So that seems to check out. The donor, I think, is a very good person and obviously doesn't want to be on record. But, you know, I brought it up yesterday about whether or not that actually happened in Aspen. And there is a donor that does specifically remember that. So important.
And that's what I was saying. She'll correct something if she's wrong or if it gets updated. And people just completely ignore that. That's what I was talking about earlier.
To update that again, this is an open investigation. We ask questions. When we get answers, we share them. Any Turning Point USA person is welcome to this platform. So this isn't like this is my side and I only want to present my side. I have said, Blake Neff, if you would like to come, you can come onto this show. Andrew Kovac, please. I would love for the spokesperson for Turning Point USA to stop texting people to do his dirty work and to come be a big boy, put your big boy pants on and come sit across from me. We're not hiding and we are open to being wrong. And I was not convinced that any of these people were honest after that meeting, especially when you were like, yeah, no, you were kind of right about a lot of that stuff, but here's why this happens. And I shared those things. I think I've been pretty forthright and honest with my audience about things. And I still don't have a good feeling about what you're doing. So, you know, I was Charlie's friend, not yours. You know, by conspiracy, Elizabeth McCoy, she's coming up in the regs. She's just in the ear like, yeah, send the cease and desist. Okay, that's a good idea. Wear the sparkly pants. Send the cease and desist. More glitter. I don't know.
So let me show you something. Burn slots, because I still don't think you understand. So I'm gonna help you out here. I'm gonna teach you something right now. Remove from studio. Share screen. This is what she's being sued for. Or she's not even being sued. This is what they're threatening with. Because really, honestly, we'll see what happens with this. But NDA non-disparagement breach is what they're accusing her of right now. And it is NDA is a non-disclosure agreement making negative, false, or misleading statements that harm a reputation. If you go down here, this is just telling you what kind of damages they're looking for. But what constitutes a breach? Any negative public statements, negative posts on social media or in public forums, actions that damage client relationships. So it doesn't have to be a lie. It could be negative. And that's what they're doing. That's it. There's a big difference. So pre-action letters, so before they can sue, they have to send often what they just did, a cease and desist. Is the first step to stop the behavior. So in the letter, they said that they sent 2 or 3. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. It doesn't matter. But unlike defamation, a non-disparagement clause can prohibit sharing true information of what's negative. They won't have to do the discovery. This is what I was saying earlier, where you were saying that I was wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. Now, in defamation, share this tab instead. In defamation, false statement of fact. It must be false. Truth is an absolute defense. Pure opinions, parody, Generally not defamatory because they cannot be proven true or false. See? They have to prove that it is not true. Libel is written form of lies. Slander, defamation is expressed in a transient form such as speech, gestures, sign language, saying something. So it is a false statement of fact that to prove that they caused some kind of injury to a reputation. The big difference. So I was talking about earlier. You can say anything you want, First Amendment. Remember I was saying you can call me whatever you want. But if I take it to the court, I got to prove that you're a liar. And I got to prove damage. Does that help? I hope that helps. Maybe. I don't know. The private individuals must prove the defendant was negligent and failed to use reasonable care. That's a little bit different. Must prove malice, that you're intentionally lying. That's what you got to prove with reckless disregard for truth. Meaning you knew you were lying and you still did it. It can't just be a mistake. This is why the other guy, with the financials, is saying, how was I supposed to know that you guys didn't? Nobody knew that. You can't say I'm lying about something if I didn't know. I shared as far as what I knew, I shared information on it. He's not going to lose. Candace Owens probably will on breach of contract, not on defamation. Here's some defamation per se. Committing a serious crime. So you could say Burn Slots did something horrible, robbed a bank, right? Provably, that can be proven that you're lying. This is what happened with Cardi B and Tasha K. They said that they had a disease, contagious disease. She said she had an STD. Provable lie. How do you prove it? Take a test. Unfitness to perform one's trade. How do you do that? How do you prove that you are fit? You get a doctor who says, no, they're perfectly capable. This is defamation. Big difference from, where was it? Making negative public statements. You don't have to prove it. It's not the same thing. So unlike defamation, non-disparagement clause can prohibit sharing of true information. If you want to prove defamation, you have to prove that they're lying, which means you have to give discovery. Here's my text. You said that I was communicating with Andrew Clovet about this, or Colvet, whatever his name is. Prove it. Okay, I need to see your text messages. That's usually where those cases get back down. And that's what's going to happen here. With Brigitte Macron also. The same thing's going to happen. How does she have kids, huh? I have kids. I'm not a woman. Who said that they came out of her? What kind of... Anyway, that's all I got for today. Later on, I'm going to do my art. I'm going to do art. If you haven't seen, I was looking at it earlier while we were here. I'm a little bit further. I'm moving further and further. I'm going to do art later on. I don't know what time. It's 2 o'clock. So a little bit later, I will be doing a Tuesday live. We got through the storm. We didn't really lose power. We lost it for like an hour, maybe. And it was overnight, so that wasn't bad. So I'm going to be doing that later on today. I will be doing day 7 on that drawing. That's okay. It'll get better. So I will share my art channel again. Still haven't, I may work on that today. Try to figure out why I can't go live on that channel. I think it's a StreamYard issue. I think it's a StreamYard issue. Twitch, same thing. I'll be going live on Twitch. Drawing. Still working on that same picture. That. And TikTok, I'm going to check. I may be able to go live. I don't think it's been 30 days. But if you don't follow me there, follow me there. Beautiful one. This is her channel again. So there's certain content creators that are in every description of my videos. She's one of them. So if you go to my into the descriptions of any of my live streams, you'll see her link. You'll see all the people who I follow regularly. But that is her link. Huge, huge, huge supporter. Nothing but respect. And that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you all. Burn Slots, thank you for stopping by again. Amber C, I appreciate you. G Will, KMC, True Essence, GWB, Lou Jenkins, appreciate you guys all. There's no reason to go live if there's nobody here. I need at least one person. Uncle L, as always, not worth it. Evolve May, thank you so much for stopping by, all of you guys. Who else was in here? WB, KMC again. Purple Heart Podcast, Just Jay. Miss Arabia was in here. Dan Tana. I said G Will, I think. That should be everyone. Oh, the bad guy was in here. Kobe Bryant Film Room. Appreciate you all. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much. With that said, let me find my. Oh, my outro's not going to be. I don't have an outro for the way I came in, so we'll leave with this one. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.